Well, this is an argument that I can see coming from 10 miles away when it comes to the college football playoff. And I would love to hear what you Tolos have to think about it. I want to give major credit, major props to one of my favorite podcasts, McCready and Siskey podcast that I listen to and watch regularly, that brought this idea to my brain, which I know might be a scary thought, but that's where we start the show today. Also, one coach just a few hours ago has been fired. No, it's not who you think. No, it's not who you Clemson fans want that also has the title offensive coordinator, but it is a big deal. Welcome into Wire to Wire. He's Diesel. I'm Cole Bryson on this Tolo Tuesday edition of Wire to Wire. Diesel, your reaction just a few hours ago. It was released. It was new news. And this was something that I talked about just a couple of weeks ago. Breaking news from On3 Sports 2 hours ago on this Tuesday. Oklahoma State has fired Mike Gundy. Bam, on a random Tuesday. Oklahoma State is looking for a new head coach. Your reaction?
I thought legacy was supposed to mean something. I thought the fact that he had put together all those double-digit win seasons at Oklahoma State was going to keep him there in perpetuity. He could stay as long as he wants. No, when you have a couple of bad seasons in a row, your ass is grass, and that's just the way that it goes. It shows that performance does actually matter in college football. It's the only thing that matters in college football. If you can't perform, get out of here. We'll hire somebody else who can.
Nick Saban said Saturday on College Game Day that you're only as good as your last play, right? Talking about Dabo Sweeney. So, again, we're going to get to this SEC versus ACC argument that I can see coming from a mile away in just a second, because that is really, really interesting news. But when you have a guy like Mike Gundy fired, and Diesel, he had been at Oklahoma State for a long, long time. And you mentioned he's done a lot of good things there.
Yes, he has.
This is a guy that's been Mr. Consistent, right? And let's see. He played quarterback for Oklahoma State, Diesel, from 1986 to 1989. He later served as the head coach starting in 2005. So this guy's Oklahoma State through and through, right? Like Dabo Sweeney didn't play college ball at Clemson, and he even still to this day is Clemson through and through. This guy, Mike Gundy, played at Oklahoma State, coached there, has had the head job for over 2 decades, and it just goes to show, Diesel, it just goes to show that all stories typically don't end well. Chris Lowe tweeted this out 15 minutes ago. Chris Lowe said on Twitter, now that Oklahoma State and Mike Gundy have parted ways, it's a reminder that rarely do even some of the most successful coaches go out on their terms.
True.
Bowden, Paterno, Snyder, Brown, Switzer, Fulmer, Majors, Patterson, Cooper, Miles, Fisher, Richt, just to name a few, Diesel. It all roads come to an end, and this is a sad reality.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they got to get out ahead of that coaching search, the hot names that are going to be available. As a matter of fact, in the very next segment, Cole, we're going to talk about some of the hot names that might be available if the nuclear option were taken and Dabo Sweeney moved on from Clemson, or Clemson decided to move on from him. Who's out there? And this, it's meant to be aimed towards Clemson in a slightly facetious, mostly hypothetical way. But now we've got 3 college football programs who are already making these decisions, who are thinking about who they'd like to go after. And I guarantee you that some of the names on this list that I've got have already gotten a call. Maybe not the coach themselves, but the agent, just back channel, gauging interest. If we were to think about talking to you, would you be interested? Would you answer the phone?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I want to say hello to the 79 Tolos watching the stream, as you can do on Twitter, on Facebook, on YouTube at the Fan Upstate. Appreciate you. Now 81 Tolos watching, 3 ways to watch. Most of our viewers come from Twitter and YouTube, not a lot on Facebook, but for those on Facebook, we appreciate you as well. Diesel, let's start with this. Now that we've gotten the elephant out of the room in Mike Gundy, we'll see, by the way, if he decides to keep coaching. That's another topic for another day. I love the McCready and Siskey podcast. It's one that I listen to regularly when it comes to college football. And I heard this sometime yesterday evening, last night. And I said, man, what a good topic of conversation to lead the show with. Sometimes Diesel and I cultivate our own topics. Sometimes I steal topics. Yes, it does happen. When you do 4 hours of radio a day, sometimes things are organic, sometimes they're not. Newsflash. Diesel, this one's not. But
if it works, it works.
If it works, it works. This one's not organic, but I thought it was so good. I wanted to bring it to our Tolos on this Tolo Tuesday. Will we see a 3-loss SEC team make the college football? And the argument that I said I see coming from a mile away, they brought it up. Let them lead the way, and then we'll dive into it. Here's the conversation.
You're fixing to see this schedule thing, right?
I told you the other day, and I said it on Hand Raise Guys last night. Here's what's coming. You can see it coming a mile away. All right. It's like a giant locomotive. You're going to get this collection of Big Ten and SEC teams that go 10-2, 9-3. And I'm not saying they're any good. I don't know. I'm just telling you what their numbers are going to be. Okay. They're going to be 10-2, 9-3, this big conglomeration of, and you're going to have these ACC teams like Georgia Tech, Cal, Miami, FSU that are going to have 1 to no losses. And I don't know what the hell the committee's going to do.
Well, I can buy it with Miami and Florida State because they've beaten quality opponents in non-conference.
Yeah,
right?
I know.
But what
do you do with 12-1 Cal? Do you take 9-3? I'm asking.
Yeah, no.
Do you take 9-3 Texas A&M, 9-3 Ole Miss, 9-3, I don't know, Alabama, 9-3 LSU? Pick your SEC, pick your Big Ten 9-3 team, and their argument would be it's not our effing fault,
and rightly so.
So Diesel, we had this conversation a little bit last year, and I wanted to lead with that audio just to kind of set the scene of what this conversation was going to look like. They're exactly right. This is the topic of conversation you and I and every single radio host and pundit across the country will be having in 3 months from now, whenever the college football playoff finalizes and we enter the CFP and the regular season's behind us. We're going to have, Diesel, to his point, several teams that are 2 losses in the SEC, 2 losses total rather. SEC teams will have 2 losses or 3 losses, 10-2, 9-3, that are going to be battling for a spot versus a 1-loss or no-loss ACC team. And I believe this season, Diesel, when we enter the college football playoff, when we enter the postseason, I believe this topic of conversation could be the number 1 topic circulating. And there's going to be, we thought expanding the playoff would make everything better in terms of teams not getting upset, right? There's going to be somebody that's really upset because their team at 1 loss out of the ACC didn't get in. Maybe it's a Miami, but this is the honest conversation we're going to be having real soon.
Well, to his to what they had to say, Cal ain't going 12-1. Okay, Cal lost to San Diego State last week. They're not going 12-1 or 11-1. But to that point, we are so wide open outside of maybe the top 5. We don't have a clue how good teams 6 through 20 are going to be. I think we're going to see some movement both up and down in this thing. We might see a team that's currently sitting at unranked or just outside of the top 25 make a run for a playoff bid. And I think we're going to see a team that's probably sitting right there in that spot. It feels like they might be safe, drop a couple of games that they shouldn't drop and fall out. This is one of those fun chaos seasons, and I love it. That it just goes to show that NIL and the portal is the great equalizer, or maybe it's not an equalizer, but it's the great destabilizer. The schools that have the money, and those are a select few that so far have shown the real desire to spend real amounts of money. And who expected Texas Tech to be in that conversation?
No doubt.
Those schools are going to be able to consistently, year in and year out, lure great talent there via the portal and NIL money. But I think there's going to be, a lot of movement in that 6 to 20 range, and we don't have a clue who's going to make this college football playoff. And I love this amount of chaos. And this is another one of those reasons why I kept railing on the idea of automatic tie-ins for conferences, because you don't know that the SEC is going to be the number one conference, even though they haven't won the national championship 2 years in a row. You don't know that they're going to maintain that kind of depth for years in the future. You don't know that the Big Ten is going to be able to do that. You don't know that the Big 12 might surprise some people and send some teams up. So I don't like the idea of automatic tie-ins. I love the idea of chaos.
Really good conversation already happening. Madcraft's jumping in on the stream. The comment section is already pretty active there. Want to hear from you, Tolos, as well on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, as well as the phone lines. They're open at 844-326-3663. Diesel, the problem is, and you're right about Cal, I'm with you, they're already a one-loss team, probably not going to win out. But here's the problem that I believe McCready and Siskey are talking about on their podcast. You look at right now, and I know right now the season's not over right now. Like the season is not ending today. However, when you look at these teams in the ACC and the SEC, overall, you've got Georgia Tech undefeated, right? 4-0. You've got Miami undefeated, 4-0. You got Florida State undefeated, 3-0. You've got Louisville at 3-0. Right? Those are overall records. 4 teams in the ACC undefeated. In the SEC, you have Ole Miss at 4-0 overall. Not talking about conference record. LSU undefeated at 4-0, as well as Mizzou, Oklahoma, Vandy, Georgia's 3-0. Mississippi State, by the way, is 4-0, newsflash, and A&M's 3-0. Now, we know just by the nature of these teams being in the conference together, we know, Diesel, that a lot of these teams are going to weed each other out, right? It's going to happen. They are going to eat each other per se, and a lot of this conversation will be settled by the time the NCAA, the college football playoff arrives. However, I think to their point, the conversation that we're going to be having is, are you going to put a one-loss ACC Florida State? Didn't win the conference. Let's just use an example here, right? A one-loss Florida State or a one-loss Georgia Tech. Are you going to, as the committee, put them in over a 2-loss or 3-loss Vanderbilt? Vanderbilt, by the way, is 4-0, looking like one of the better teams in the conference. There are right now these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams in the SEC undefeated. As I said, they'll kind of tear on each other, and this conversation, by the time we get to the actual playoff, will be a little bit more clear. But there's still going to be some teams out of the ACC, I'm afraid, that feel like they get hosed when this thing's all said and done.
Well, I mean, it comes back down to the age-old question, what does the committee value? Do they value just wins and losses? Do they like the smallest number possible on the right-hand side and the biggest number possible on the left-hand side? Do they try to parse the difference between an SEC loss versus an ACC loss? How do they do that? Do they do that via the eye test and personal biases? Do they do that via advanced metrics and analytics and seeing how we think a 2-loss or a 3-loss SEC team compares? I think if you go that route, Cole, you end up expanding this thing again, because now you say, well, we only lost one game. We're not in. What the heck's going on?
Madcraft on the YouTube stream says they proved they would pick the SEC team with more losses last year, didn't they? I screamed at the mountaintops that jumping to 12 was too much too fast. The debate between 4 and 5 just switched to 12 and 13. And I agree with you there, Madcraft. Wesley Roberts on Facebook says Clemson sucks. By the way, Wesley's a Clemson fan. He says, there, I said it. I feel better now. Go Tigers. Let's see. He says, my son is 3 weeks old, and I don't even let him in the room during Clemson games because I don't want his first impression to be spoiled.
Oh, that's funny.
That's probably a good thing to do, Wesley. Congratulations, by the way. I did see it on Facebook. Congratulations to you and your wife. But yeah, probably don't want to let your 3-week-old see that mess that is Clemson
they'll
football.
see that mess. They'll hear their first cuss words. You don't want your child's first words to be a 4-letter. Kane Sisk on the stream says the committee values brands. Winning Florida State and winning Miami are great brands.
Say that again. I didn't see that comment.
Second to newest one, Kane Sisk. The
I got it.
Values brand. Look,
committee values brands.
I've heard people call it the brand value invitational for years.
Yeah.
You invite the teams with the biggest brands who are going to invite the biggest audiences to tune in and watch. Right? It's not about the best football teams. It's about which teams are going to bring the most eyeballs. We've already seen that take place when it comes to college basketball.
Yeah,
they're not putting in an elite, for example, Furman that loses their conference championship game. They'd rather put in the 8th best SEC team or the 5th best.
Who they lose to the conference championship,
team,
by the way?
Wofford, who fired their coach. Interesting. Who just hired a new one, by the way. It's fun to bring that. But no, it's college basketball has turned into this brand power invitational. Why not do it in football too? Who cares? Just why don't we go by social media following?
Oh, that's a good idea. That's a good idea. So here's what I'll say. You and I had a conversation kind of to that point, Diesel, at the ACC kickoff back in Charlotte. And July, August, whenever that was. You and I had, I think, my favorite conversation with the guy who works for the college football playoff. He was in the room, and I apologize for forgetting his name and title. It was 2 months ago. But you remember the conversation. Diesel, he's executive something for the college football playoff. He's a bigwig, right? And he was in the room 2 years ago when they had to leave Florida State out of the college football playoff when Jordan Travis went down, right? He was in the room last year. And I think the biggest thing I take away from what he said with you and I back at the ACC kickoff that applies to this conversation.
Are you talking about Rich Clark?
Yes.
Yeah.
Rich Clark. You have better memory than I do.
No, I had to Google it.
Oh, okay. I'll try to give you some credit there. I think the biggest takeaway was there's just so many variables that go into this conversation that you and I are having now about a 3-loss SEC team. Remember, South Carolina was kind of in this position a season ago. First as a 1-loss ACC team. Now, could these teams, could the teams in the ACC lose a couple of games between now and then? We're not having this conversation, sure. But I do believe, Diesel, ultimately, you have to look at this. If you're on the committee, you kind of have to look at this as almost a head-to-head competition between each of these teams that you're trying to gauge and figure out where they're getting in, where they're going to miss, where they're going to finish, etc. Because ultimately, I think there are so many variables. To your point about the brand power and Madcraft, I agree with that. I think it does have we just can't say it. We can't sit here, Diesel, and honestly say brand doesn't matter. I think it does matter a little bit. But ultimately, my final point to that conversation is the SEC, just like the brand power conversation does, Diesel, the SEC for a long time is going to carry a lot of weight. My point being, there are going to continue, in my mind, to be teams out of the ACC that continue to get hosed. Maybe it's another conference. But just like brands still carry weight for years after that brand was successful, I think the SEC, it just means more. I think to the committee members, even though the SEC may not be what it was 5 years ago, I still think that's a factor whether they want to admit it or not.
Well, here's how we fix it. We force realignments.
Yeah.
Yeah, you move some of those middle of the program, middle of the rung SEC teams, you move them over to the ACC, and you move some of the weak ACC teams into the SEC. Now you've got a relative balance between the two conferences, and we don't have to worry about multiple losses and win-loss records. We can kind of decide that, these teams are relatively equal in strength, and then we don't have to do that anymore.
JB says he brings up an interesting point. All the 3-loss SEC teams got left out last year. And you remember, Diesel, Tennessee was the 2-loss team that I said was in the best position because they didn't play for a conference championship, right? The Gamecocks were on the wrong side of that a season ago. And JB, you're right. And this is something that Diesel and I talked about several months ago, is that guideline that was followed last year going to be the same guideline they follow this year? I think that's still up in the air.
When we come back, Cole, the hottest names that could replace Dabo Sweeney if the nuclear option were taken. A little bit of hypothetical, a little bit of thought experiment, but also relevant for teams like Oklahoma State and Virginia Tech that are moving on from their head coaches. We'll talk about it next on the Fan Upstate. It's a bold move, Mike Gundy, to piss off your institution and your wife just before getting fired from your job. Did you hear the audio of Mike Gundy talking about the changes in college football and how it's kind of like arguing with your wife?
I did, and I think he's actually on to something.
I mean, he's not wrong here.
Do you have it?
I do. I'm going to play it for you. I mean,
this is fun.
First of all, you went scorched earth on your donors just before you got waxed by Oregon. And then you come out and say, well, college football has changed entirely, and you set yourself up to get waxed at home as soon as you come back, as soon as you come home for the night, and not in a fun way. Here's Coach Gundy.
College football, as we all know, has changed in a very, very dramatic fashion, and it's really not the old college football. This is a paid game, okay? So whether I agree with it or not makes zero difference.
That's true.
It's like being in an argument with your wife and you're right, makes zero difference. You're wrong. You might as well just get over it, give in. Things are going to be much smoother.
Now, my wife will tell me if I pull that tactic, just because I don't want to argue with you anymore about this. I know I'm right. I'm not going to change my mind, but I don't want to argue about this anymore. She says, well, now you're just agreeing with me to end the argument. I'm like, and she gets more mad at me. Yeah. So bold choice there, Mike,
situation
on your way out the door.
By the way, he finished 170-90 over 21.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can say 21 seasons. Can you? Can you say 20.3,
20
4, 5?
20 and a third. Yeah, it's like a Naked Gun movie.
Right.
33 and a third seasons.
170-90 is what Mike Gundy officially finished with at Oklahoma State.
So Mike Gundy being, if that I'm a man, I'm 40, wasn't it 19 years ago? I think we established that.
A long time ago.
He's got to be 56, 7, 8, 9 years old. Could get out of the profession. Could go into broadcasting like Paul Feinbaum. We had that audio yesterday of him saying, "Oh, Dabo would be a really sought after broadcaster." You have something?
Oh no,
I thought you were gonna.
No, sorry.
Mike Gundy would be a very sought after broadcaster in the Big 12. I think he's an entertaining, interesting guy. Obviously, he's got a wealth of knowledge.
Yeah.
But if he wanted to, Mike Gundy could go coach at the FCS level. Like if you don't want to deal with NIL. You don't want to deal with the transfer portal. I know that there's some of that inside the FCS division.
He's 58, by the way.
But not as much. Go coach FCS. Go coach in the MAC. Join the Sun Belt. How about that? I would actually really love that, to have Mike Gundy coaching a Sun Belt school.
I just wonder if he's made plenty.
Yeah,
he's a rich
years,
man. Right?
He's a rich man.
He made 675 this year, so probably last year was somewhere close to 6 million, 6.50 in terms of what his salary was. So he's probably made Diesel 6 million for the last several years. I would imagine he's okay.
I don't know how accurate these numbers are. Like, have you ever searched what a celebrity's net worth is? There's a website called celebritynetworth.com, which is the textbook definition of pocket watching. But it says Mike Gundy is worth $14 million, has a net worth of $14 million. That, I assume that means his assets, his house, his cars, properties, businesses he might be involved in, et cetera, et cetera. That's what those are worth. Because, obviously all of his 20 some odd seasons at Oklahoma State have added up to a lot more than $14 million. But, we all got bills to pay. So Dabo, remember last week he said, well, if I'm not wanted here, I'll go coach somewhere else. I'm 55. I got a lot of time left.
Yeah.
Who, just pretending here for the sake of argument, if the naysayers get their way, if Dabo up and quits as a head coach of the Clemson Tigers, or if Graham Neff pulls out his map and finds out where Dabo's office is, because he, rarely has reason to go down there. If he goes down there and fires him, who could be Clemson's next head coach? Who could be Virginia Tech's next head coach? But we want to keep this here local for Clemson. We'll give each one of these candidates, Cole, an A, B, C, D, F grade. How about that?
Yeah, I like that.
First of all, we need to establish a baseline of where we think Dabo Swinney is right now as a head coach. And I'm going to keep it as simple as possible. 4 categories. If we want to add one more, we can.
Okay.
Pedigree, Dabo's obviously an A-plus coach, right?
Yeah.
Pedigree is there. It's unquestioned. Dabo Swinney as a recruiter right now. Give him a
I'd
B.
say he's still a A.
I'm talking on a national scale, playoff contending type of recruiting. To me, he's a B.
Okay. I'd probably go A
minus.
minus. Yeah.
CEO ability, because that's a big part of being a college coach right now. You got to manage a lot of people.
Yeah, no doubt. I think that's A plus.
I got him as an A minus, as CEO ability.
Okay.
And then adaptability, C for me.
Oh, that's where you have a little bit of a pain in your side, right?
Yeah.
Adaptability, I think C might be a little too kind.
Really?
Yeah, I mean,
Really?
what has Dabo Swinney shown that we think makes some
hiring Tom Allen and Garrett Riley?
Yeah, but
he did adapt a little bit, just not in the way that you would want him to adapt.
I just think adaptability means so many different things, right? Like you have to, going back to what we talked about yesterday with Nick Saban. Nick Saban adapted to a lot of things. Mm-hmm. He didn't adapt to some things. He did not want to adapt to this new era.
Okay.
He did adapt to a spread offense. He brought in Lane Kiffin. He did adapt to different styles that continue to change the game of college football. Maybe I'm wrong here. What has Dabo Swinney done to show me that he can adapt? He brought the program up from a very bad place, won a national championship, won 2 national championships. But when it comes to adapting, that's where I think, Diesel, for me, I think that's where my biggest hurdle is with Dabo Swinney. Yeah. I'd probably go C minus, D plus. Yeah, somewhere right in there.
I mean, so, all right, put those in your head. Your grades for pedigree, recruiting, CEO ability, and adaptability. Where would you really put Dabo Swinney today as a head coach? I got him as like a B plus kind of
overall.
Coach. Overall, I got him at an A plus, B, A minus, and C for those 4 grades. So I average them together. I
would go A minus, maybe B plus. What'd you say?
I got him as a B plus coach.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with that.
I'm a tough grader. I'm grading him on the college football playoff winnability scale here.
Yeah, and ultimately, like, I think that's where we are, right? I think that this conversation that we've had for the past couple of weeks, Diesel, of what's going on with Clemson, I think that's kind of right, because you look at it through the lens of an A-plus coach is keeping your program at the national championship standard, right? Mm-hmm. Whether Dabo Swinney wants to admit it or not, there has been slippage, and you don't start 1-3.
Can't have slippage.
You can't have slippage. You don't start 1-3 and say, okay, he's still a plus kind of. I think that you obviously look at him as a A minus, B plus kind of coach, but the slippage it's a real thing. I guess that's my point.
Jacob in Spartanburg says Gundy to Wofford. Another texter here says, this is from Tolo J. Butane. He says, pedigree is a B, big dog. This ain't 2017. Come on, J. Butane. You're not being realistic if you're saying Dabo Swinney's pedigree is a B-level pedigree. He's got 2 national championships, and he's played in multiple. So his pedigree is impeccable.
And again, I think it's so important. And again, not refuting you or Jacob or whoever, but like pedigree today, this is my opinion, Diesel. Pedigree today, when you talk about overall pedigree of a head coach, pedigree today is not the same thing as it was when this sport was completely different.
Sure.
We have to remember that this is a different sport.
Granted, we did have a Tolo out. I don't know who it was. I don't think it was you, Jay Butane. I don't recall. Somebody yesterday was questioning Nick Saban's pedigree.
It was.
We did have that Tolo saying, well, what has Nick Saban done? He ran scared from stop, man. His pedigree is impeccable.
I would almost say, not to like divert the conversation, I would almost say, Diesel, for me, if we're gonna answer this honestly, I'd say you'd have to give Dabo a pedigree in that old sport where there was no NIL and no portal. And then you'd have to give him a pedigree now in this new sport. That's just me personally. Yeah. I think I don't think people put enough emphasis on this is a new era, guys. This is not the same old. There's a reason Nick Saban got out.
Okay.
Like, it's not that he just had some back pains and said he wanted to go sit on the boat and eat, vanilla wafers. There's a reason that guy left college football.
It's Little Debbie's.
Well,
Thank
I'm
you very
sorry,
much.
you're right.
Yeah,
Little
oatmeal
Debbie's.
cream pies.
I do love
actually.
vanilla wafers, though, don't
God,
you?
an oatmeal
So-
cream. I do sometimes drink a cup of coffee and eat an oatmeal cream pie, and I think
feel
about
like
Nick
Nick
Saban.
Saban.
Yeah. I just wish I was doing it on a boat out in the river somewhere. So again, I have Dabo at a B+. You got him at
A minus. Overall, but
I think that's generous.
it is generous.
Okay.
It is, and I would say, Diesel, that I'm right there with you, kind of teeter-tottering between B+
So,
and A minus.
I don't want to spend as much time on all these other coaches as we did. So let's just go like top of our mind where we think a coach really is. So I'm breaking this down into the categories of somewhat realistic sitting Power 4 head coaches, like guys that Clemson could theoretically go get if they really, really wanted to. Sitting group of 5 head coaches, coordinators who have made a great name for themselves, guys who are currently sitting on the beach somewhere, and the unrealistic options, but you got to mention them anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. Very simply, letter grade for Brent Venables as a coach, not the go get him ability scale, just Brent Venables as a coach right now. Letter grade.
Right now,
Yeah.
my answer's different than it was 2 years ago. Right now, I'd go I'd probably go A minus.
Yeah, I like that.
I mean,
I don't have a problem with
Now,
A minus.
2 years ago, I'd have said like, oh boy, I don't know.
But is he really an A minus, or has he gotten lucky when he landed a great quarterback in John
He
Mateer?
did land a great quarterback. I will say, to be fair, go back to his first 2 seasons at Oklahoma, Diesel. They had like statistically the worst run defense, overall team defense that Oklahoma had in 60 years.
People were already thinking about firing Brent
Yeah.
Venables.
And
So
we
he
had that
went from
conversation
fireable
last year.
to A minus
Yeah.
in 3 games. Think about it like
Hey,
that.
by the way, real quick side note, it's amazing what a quarterback will do for you.
That's very, very true.
Dabo, you should try to get one.
Let's say that things continue to go wrong for this coach in his current location, and he says, you know what, I'd like to be somewhere where they actually appreciate me. Kalen DeBoer.
God.
Somewhat realistic. Again, these are not super realistic, but they all are currently employed somewhere.
That's a good one. That's a tough one. You go first on this one. I want to hear what you said.
Oh man, to me, Kalen's tenure at Washington means a lot.
It does.
And replacing a guy like Nick Saban is going to be hard for anyone.
Yeah.
Regardless, I'm still giving Kalen DeBoer an A minus grade.
I'm giving him a B+.
Okay.
Which is not far off from an A minus at all. So
Okay.
you and I are together there, and I agree with you on following Nick Saban. I mean, just imagine if Dabo, in his stubborn ways, would have had to follow Nick Saban. He might have already been gone. I'm with you there.
So that wouldn't necessarily be an upgrade from Dabo Swinney, because you and I graded him as a B+, A minus. We graded Kalen DeBoer as a B+, A minus
Yeah, that's
kind of
true.
coach. All right, here's a fun one, Cole. Could you imagine the possibility of Lane Kiffin at Clemson?
I'd love it.
He's always on the outside looking in. Why not go somewhere where it's easier to actually get into the college football playoff?
He'd be there every year.
Talk about a culture shift,
Oh.
though. From Dabo to Lane, you couldn't get any more
No.
of a pendulum swing.
No, but you know what? Like, I think it would be incredible, first of all,
Yeah.
if that – I don't – let me say this. I don't think that'll ever happen. I think it would be so much fun, though, if it were to happen. Diesel, you're asking to grade Lane Kiffin,
Mhm.
average, in terms of what he's done. I said last year with Jackson Dart, I felt like they underachieved a little bit.
Mhm.
You can't go A. Like, you just can't, because you do have to have some proof at some point in the pudding to be able to get you to an A. That's why Kalen DeBoer, like, he played for a national.
Mhm.
I go B+.
You go B+.
Yeah.
I have Lane Kiffin as an A minus because I love his ability to go get portal guys.
I do too.
I love his creativity.
Yeah.
I think he'd be a pretty substantial upgrade there in the creativity. How about this was the last one, Cole, in the somewhat realistic sitting Power 4 head coaches category, the guy that just beat you, Fran Brown.
See, I like Fran Brown a
Me
lot.
too.
I like him a lot.
And you telling me Clemson couldn't throw enough money to get him out of Syracuse? He wouldn't even have to change his wardrobe.
I think Fran Brown is a Deion Sanders without the flash and without the Hollywood. I think Fran Brown has a little bit more of the meat and potatoes that maybe Deion doesn't have, where he's got all the side dishes and the nice, finishing touches, around the nice fruit layered around the counter, the pretty the pretty set up. Fran Brown's more of the crock pot, like stew and potatoes kind of guy. I like Fran Brown a lot. I think he's doing something special. Diesel, did you already give yours for him?
I've got Fran as an A-level coach.
I think he's a B. I think Fran Brown is a B right now, but trending toward B+.
Kane Sisk says, if Lane Kiffin coaches at Clemson, I will stop being a Clemson
That's not
fan.
true. No, you won't. No, you won't.
No, you won't. Cole, we're kind of out of time here. A lot of other names to get through. We'll actually pick this up a little bit later on in the show. We'll put pause on this. I've got some really good sitting G5 coaches, some coordinators out there. We're looking for an upgrade here, people. Have we found anyone that we would say is an upgrade and is also gettable? That's we'll continue that conversation later.
We got to look at our daily wires. It's the top headlines, Diesel. A lot has happened today on this Tolo Tuesday. We'll get to it next. You may call them headlines, but on this show, we call them daily wires.
Bzz.
It's the buzz that's happening in the sports world. The Lions defeated the Ravens 38-30 on Monday Night Football. Lions now 2-1 in the season. Ravens 2-1. I got that one way wrong last night. Diesel. Lions looked really, really good without Ben Johnson. 3 games in now. This one surprised me. Baltimore now 1-2. 1-2, a little bit behind the 8 ball. San Diego Padres are headed back to the playoffs for the 4th time in 6 seasons. The Padres clinched a playoff berth with a 5-4 11-inning win against the 3-time NL Central champion Milwaukee Brewers on Monday night, even as the San Francisco 49ers held out hope that a Monday morning MRI would show defensive end Nick Bosa avoided a serious right knee injury. Bosa himself was already resigned to what the imaging would indicate, Diesel, which is why when Kyle Shanahan spoke to Bosa after the win against Arizona, Bosa told his coach to expect the worst, a torn ACL in his right knee, just a huge blow to the San Francisco 49ers with Nick Bosa now being out the entire season.
Yeah, that's a tough one. They're gonna have to go to the trade market, see if they can get somebody to fill his role,
That's
because
tough,
those are huge shoes to fill.
In case you missed it yesterday, Bruce Pearl has stepped down as the men's basketball coach at Auburn and will move into an ambassador role in the athletic department as a special assistant to the athletics director. The school announced on Monday his son Steven, the Tigers' associate head coach, received a 5-year contract as the program's new head coach.
Nepo hire.
The Atlanta Falcons fired wide receivers coach Ike Hilliard on Monday, one day after being routed by the NFC South rivals Carolina Panthers. Offensive passing game coordinator TJ Yates will assume Hilliard's duties, the team said. Look at Bryce Young and the Panthers getting people fired, Diesel. We all saw that coming, right? I mean,
Didn't have that on my bingo card this week.
No, sure didn't. 3 games into the season, the Dallas Cowboys are down 3 starters on offense for multiple weeks. When things just can't get any worse in Dallas, they continue to do so. Pro Bowl wide receiver CeeDee Lamb could miss 3 to 4 weeks with a left high ankle sprain suffered in Sunday's loss to the Bears. Rookie right guard Tyler Booker out of Alabama, the Cowboys' first-round pick, is looking at 4 to 6 week absence due to a high ankle sprain as well, sources told ESPN. So,
you ever heard that saying, when it rains, it pours?
Yeah.
In Dallas, though, when it rains, Jerry is there to sell you an overpriced umbrella.
Pretty much. And right now it's raining pretty hard in Dallas, and the playoffs aren't even here yet. In case you missed it yesterday, Wofford hired former assistant Kevin Giltner as their next head basketball coach. Giltner was made available today and announced the 20th head coach in a press conference earlier today at Wofford College in Spartanburg. You can see some quotes and pictures and videos on our socials at the Fan Upstate and on my Twitter at @TheCole The Braves, Diesel, they, never cease to amaze me. They won again on Monday, now winners of 9 straight after defeating Washington 11-5. Hurst and Waldrop on the mound tonight for Atlanta, 7:15 p.m. first pitch. You know, the Braves are out of playoff contention, but have now won 9 straight games. Do they understand that you're supposed to do this before you get out of playoff contention?
Well, now they got nothing to lose, Cole.
What are we doing? What are we doing right now? I mean, this is such a joke. Wait till we're out of playoff contention to play the best baseball. And maybe arguably the best in any team's playing right now, but it doesn't matter. And Santa Clara, Diesel, San Francisco. Oh, we talked about that. I'm sorry. That was a repeat about Nick Bosa. Coach Jim Harbaugh said Monday the Los Angeles Chargers running back Najee Harris had a season-ending injury. It was an Achilles tear. Matt Kraft and I talked about this yesterday as well. It was a rough news to hear that Najee Harris is going to be done for the season. They had the 23-20 win on Sunday over the Broncos, but when you talk about a guy as impactful as Najee Harris, hearing that news, that he's going to be out for the rest of the season, is brutal. And last one for you, Diesel, the New York Giants are planning to bench quarterback Russell Wilson in favor of first-round rookie Jackson Dart after 3 games. Breaking news today, sources told ESPN's Adam Schefter. Dart's first start will come at home on Sunday against the undefeated LA Chargers at MetLife Stadium. The 25th overall pick this year out of Ole Miss served as the backup in the first 3 games. I just don't understand, Diesel, why you go out in the offseason before the draft, sign Russell Wilson, draft Jackson Dart, only to tank your season for 3 games and go over for playing Russell Wilson, then decide to play Jackson Dart. I think this is horrible management by the Giants.
It feels like the strategy should be just keep losing with Russ, and then you can get yourself a top 5 draft pick. You can go get Jackson Dart, whoever he wants. Go get him an elite wide receiver. Go get him an elite, right tackle or something like that, left tackle to protect his blind side. Something. You don't do this back and forth thing. It feels like what the Carolina Panthers were doing a couple of years ago. Not tanking. Are they tanking or are they not tanking? Are they tanking or are they not tanking? And then all of a sudden you end up there in that 10th spot in the draft and you're kind of sitting in no man's land.
And don't get me wrong. I think Jackson should be the starter, but now like you said, you've just done it backwards. Last one for you. The South Carolina Prep Media Poll has been released just moments ago. And let's see here. As far as 5A goes, Irmo is now the number 1 team in 5A, followed by Northwestern at 2, Dutch Fork at 3, Somerville at 4, James Island at 5, Burns at 6, Dorman at 7, Greenwood at 8, Ridgeview at 9, and Gaffney at 10. That's the 5A class media poll that was just released by Lou Bezjak of the State Newspaper.
Do you think that Russell Wilson is done as a player in the NFL after this season?
Should be.
Just anybody else going to be willing to take a shot?
It's a waste of money.
Well, but think about it this way. How many quarterbacks have we seen, old quarterbacks, step back in and be really good? I mean,
Joe Flacco.
There's no guarantee that it's going to work out. And this is the case where it doesn't work out. But Joe Flacco has been really good. And we thought, man, that guy's like 80. How could he be good? He's older than Roger Staubach. How is he going to be good? But he is.
He is. Yeah.
But he is. When we come back, Cole, it is time to get into not only the Upset Picks Challenge standings, but also I'm going to list off a bunch of games that I'm interested in, which means you should not take them because I don't know what I'm doing in this challenge. We'll get to that next right here on The Fan Upstate. Corn Chip texts in and says, holy crap, I actually hit this week in the Upset Picks Challenge. Tolos, the leaderboard is posted on our Facebook and our Twitter. Just search for The Fan Upstate. As of right now, there are 112 of you Tolos on the board. And the best part is, all you Tolos who are tied for 109th, you have 1.5 points. So assuming you get a pick in, you can't fall off the board this week. Even if you get one wrong, you'll fall back to 0.5 point. And we'll be adding to this 112 list. We're going to have to start getting out magnifying glasses to see all of the names, because Dan B keeps having to shrink this font smaller and smaller and smaller to get all the Tolos names who have points. It's incredible what you guys have done and your participation in this challenge already. 212 total players have been a part of the Upset Picks Challenge this year. That means we've already eclipsed what we had at the end of last year. So love to see that. 6 more Tolos already through 5 weeks than we had the entirety of the 2024 season.
And just for those out there, Diesel, a really important note for those out there that may have not entered the challenge yet or maybe getting discouraged. Just look at this week's upset standings. I'm not saying like you can come in and win the thing tomorrow at 4:00. However, take, for example, I wasn't on the board at all. I mean, I was nowhere to be found. 4 weeks in a row, 3 or 4 weeks in a row, Diesel, I didn't hit. Last week, hit for the very first time and moved all the way to 70th. There's a lot of people behind me. Now, there's a lot more in front of me, but I'm in 70th place, and there's a log jam. From 70th to like 40th.
Well, see, that right there, that range of about 9 to 20, that's the normal person scale. That means you've hit on some, you've not hit on some, and, that's where you should be. But we've got people with like a sixth sense for upset picks.
Dave Mosley
has 4 in a row and has 56 points. Bo from Greer has hit all 5
That's
weeks.
Unbelievable.
All
man.
5. That means he hit week 0 through week 4, and he's not even in first place. Put that in the back of your mind, that he has hit 5 weeks out of 5 and is not in first place.
And look, what I'm getting at is, Diesel, there's still so much college football left. I'm not saying like you can come in tomorrow and win it, but you can get top 25. Like you can.
Yeah.
You right now, let's say, for example, let's pick 20th. Percy, Philip Rollins, Keith and TR all at like 23 points, and they're within like striking distance. So if you're within striking distance, you need Dave Mosley, USC Justin, Bo from Greer, Gamecock Tim. You need those guys to go cold. And we've seen Diesel. It's probably going to happen.
Here's the problem. They are scorching hot right now. They are scorching hot.
Well, let's change that.
My better half is kicking my ass big time. F.U. Ashley, 26.5 points on the board. I have 0. Here's the thing. I give her a list of picks that she could choose from.
You got to quit doing that, by the way.
I know. Here's a couple, Ashley. Choose. What do you like out of this one? And she's hit 3 weeks in a row. And she came this close to picking Syracuse over Clemson. She even messaged me and said, I'd really like to see Clemson lose, but I'm going with, I don't remember who she picked last week. And she hit on that one anyway.
And Diesel, to RJ's point, who just texted in a minute ago on the Hub City Spartan Burgers text line, this just goes to show that while you may think you're out of it, you're not. Because let's look at this text line. RJ texted in and said, I'd like to write a thank you note to Fran Brown in Syracuse for getting me on the board. RJ was near the bottom.
Well, it was a 17.5 point spread. So he went from 0 to 30th. He went from off the board to 30th.
So I'm just saying, like, you might think, okay, I'm so far behind. I'm telling you, man, you got to keep stacking. Keep stacking.
Exactly where I was last year. I mean, I think I had some points at this point in the season, but I was close to the bottom. And then I went on a heater in the back half of the season, and I rose all the way to the top 10, I think. So it is still doable. I'm holding out hope that can be me again this year.
Let's do it.
I got to beat Dewey at least. Dewey's got 5.5.
See, I'm banking on me going on a heater, but I'm also banking on Diesel Everybody else just going stone.
That's what we need.
Cold.
That's what we need.
And that's what I mean, desperately.
Big time.
By the way, Tolos, 24 hours from now it'll be open. So no more of this like sending in early picks. If you send in a pick too early, we're going to ban you from FM airwaves to where your radio can't pick up the station anymore.
It's
4
incredible.
o'clock on Wednesdays.
It's weird. Why did Dave Mosley just stop picking in the middle of the season? I haven't been getting his picks. It's crazy.
Dave Mosley's been blocked.
But no, we every season we try to help people, guide them through the first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah.
Go back and look at the text line to see if anybody messaged in outside of show hours. People who are new to this challenge, those of you Tolos who have been with us a long time, you know the rules. You're doing a great job. But the Tolos who are new to this, they think they can just send it in anytime they want. I will message them and say, hey, you sent this in out of show hours. Make sure you send it back in between the hours of 3 and 7 on Thursday and Friday and 4 and 7 on Wednesdays. Get your pick in. But we're not doing that anymore. Okay. You've had now 4 weeks of this challenge to learn the rules.
Yeah.
And we're going to have to start, start enforcing them.
I'm ready. I'm fired up. I'm on not a heater, but I feel like some momentum's about. I'm fired up for this. You know, my thoughts have been low the past couple of weeks, Diesel, but I'm ready now. I feel like I've got some confidence behind me.
On the stream, who's watching on YouTube right now, Puppy Monkey Baby says, where can we see the results? The results are on our Facebook and our Twitter pages at The Fan Upstate. I'm trying to scroll with my eyes here very quickly to see if Puppy Monkey Baby is even on the board. He is. Puppy. Wow. He is sitting in 12th place, sole possession of 12th place with 29 points. How about that? That's huge. Tolos, it's time to start thinking about what games you might be thinking about. If that made sense.
Yeah, it made sense.
With 24 hours to go, Cole. So, you look at the ESPN.com spreads and understand that these things could move a smidge before 3 o'clock tomorrow. But as of 3 o'clock on Wednesdays, we lock these spreads in. So no matter whether you pick on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday, whatever game you pick, everybody who picks that game will get the same number of points, regardless of if the spread moves up or down after that before 7 p.m. on Fridays. Go to ESPN.com. The easiest way I found is to go to the little NCAA football tab and go to the schedule page. The schedule page kind of lists everybody's games and the spread on the far right-hand side. You can start looking through them and start thinking which games do you like, which games kind of aren't worth taking. There's a bunch of those 2.5, 3.5 point spreads that aren't worth taking, Cole. So early leans here in this segment. Who do you like? Who are you staying away from? Would you like to start or should I?
Well,
because I will give terrible advice.
Just real quick, want to throw this out there. I did see this pop up on my phone before we get into early leans. Breaking news regarding John Mateer. Sources have confirmed to Sooner Scoop that Sooners quarterback John Mateer has suffered a hand injury that will affect his playing status moving forward. So,
from giving too many high fives?
I don't know. If you're thinking about taking a game that involves Oklahoma, maybe think about it even more now. John Mateer may be questionable for a couple of weeks, which is
Oklahoma
huge.
is on a bye this week, so that really helps.
That bye came at the perfect time.
Yes,
didn't
it did. Yes, it did. So I know some of you are probably rushing to see who are they playing this week. Maybe I should take them. Well, he's not playing. They're not playing at all.
Oh man, that would. I've got a few that I've looked at. I always do peek at these Thursday and Friday games just to see if you can get the anticipation to come a little earlier. And I was shocked to be reminded that Virginia's 3-1. I'm like, wait a minute, Virginia. Why is Florida State
close to firing Tony Elliott?
I know. Florida State only favored by 6.5.
That's odd. Is it in Charlottesville?
It is in Charlottesville. Yes, it is.
Not known for their home field advantage.
Yeah.
But I do like their stadium a lot. It's a quaint little Power 4 conference stadium.
I'll tell you this. I haven't decided. I do have a few early leans, but Diesel, I will tell you this. I think Notre Dame, Arkansas is going to be a heavy pick this week. I really do. Notre Dame's 1-2 in the year, right? They're at Arkansas, 2-2. Notre Dame's only favored by 3.5. And I
Is
know
there enough meat on that bone?
No, that's what I was going to say. I know 3.5 is not a lot of points.
If you've already got points, it might be worth taking. But if you're sitting as far back as I am,
no, 3.5 is not worth
which is essentially tied for dead last.
Yeah, you need to start going for some eights, right?
But I did. I mean, I've been going for that. I've been going for anything over 6 points.
Diesel, I'll tell you, my first early lean is even with this. This is tough. Even without Angeli, I'm looking at Syracuse plus 6.5 over Duke.
Ooh. Okay.
Now you could look at that a couple of ways. You could say Syracuse is legit, Diesel, at 3-1, or you could say without their quarterback, I don't see it happening. But it's in the Carrier Dome, or I'm sorry, the JMA Wireless Dome in Syracuse, New York.
Carrier Dome, get out of here with that mess.
They don't have their quarterback. Could they have a little bit of a fall off weekend after they just beat Clemson? I don't know. 6.5 to me is intriguing because I'm on the board and I like Syracuse, but Steve Angeli not being there, that concerns me big time.
Yeah, Ricky Collins came in, went 3 of 8 for 34 yards and a touchdown.
Not bad,
but they didn't ask him to throw the ball very much. They were
right.
already up. They didn't. His job was to protect it, not turn it over.
Like,
and
let me ask you this question: if Angeli were healthy, who would you pick to win the game? Duke or Syracuse?
Syracuse.
Me too. So I just wonder how much of an impact that had on the spread because Duke's favored on the road by 6.5 points.
So Syracuse at home with a backup and 6.5.
I kind of like it, man. I kind of like it.
They're a good team.
They're a good team. Fran Brown's gonna it's gonna be a fourth quarter game.
Sure.
I don't see Duke going up there and blowing them out. I've got to look at it. I know 6.5 is not sexy. It's not a lot of points, but that's up there for me.
Yeah, but you have how many, Cole? You're at
8.5, I believe.
You get 6.5. Now you're at bad at math here. You're at 15 points, which moves you over to the left side of the graphic.
Yeah,
which is where you want to be. You want to be on the left side, not the right side. You could move up into the top 35.
I'm looking at that one seriously, man. I really am. What about you?
Leprechaun of Lyman texts in 844 fan phone, says I had 0 points 2 weeks ago. Now I'm in 7th. Never stop playing, y'all. That is an inspirational poster.
That is a good one.
You know, it's like that hang in there poster of the cat hanging onto the rope. My first upset pick early lean, Cole, is Ohio State at Washington. Plus 9.5.
Ooh.
This Washington team is really good.
That'd be a big upset.
They've got a good quarterback in Williams. Almost 800 yards through the air, 0 interceptions. They've put up 38, 70, and 59 this season. And you know how loud Washington Husky Stadium can be when it's an elite level environment. I mean, think about it.
That'd be a big upset.
That would be a huge
I'm kind of
upset.
surprised that spread's not more. What'd you say it was?
9.5. Oh, Washington's 3-0. So
Washington's 3-0. And like, the game's at Washington. I think that matters a little bit. When
they got those awnings that trap the sound in.
You know, I can see them covering. I just don't know if they went out right. That's going to be a good game this weekend.
That's my boldest pick.
Okay,
that's my boldest pick.
All right, what else you got?
I'm looking at Southern Cal at Illinois plus 6.5. Illinois got boat raced by Indiana, but
they did.
You know, a rebound game
race
for Bielema.
Let me ask you about this one.
They're a good team.
Do you have any interest in noon o'clock on Saturday? UCF, who's 3-0, by the way.
Yeah.
At 1-3, Kansas State. Kansas State's favored by 6.5 at home, while this undefeated UCF team comes in. That one's piqued my interest a lot.
I do have that on my list, and I wonder if this could be an inspirational go win one for Sean Clark.
Yeah,
kind of game.
So.
This is their UCF's first game after their offensive line coach passed away.
That's right.
So maybe they get a little bit of extra motivation to go win one for Sean.
And Kansas State's 1-3.
Yeah,
like they're not a good football team.
Do we really think that's going to be some elite level intimidating environment? No, I don't.
No, 6.5 points, man. That I've seen a couple. That Duke Syracuse, those two right there, man. That's got to be at the top of the list.
I'm looking, Cole, also at 3-1 Cal plus 6.5 at Boston College.
Oh boy.
I mean, what? I mean, I
What
know
a
Cal. I
boring
know
game to
Cal
watch.
crapped the bed. I know, but this might be the only reason worth watching.
Yeah.
Cal crapped the bed, but Boston College, they're 1-2. Like, why is Boston College getting this much love? They lost 30-20 at Stanford. And then they lost, let's say they lost 42-40 in double overtime at Michigan State. That's their last two games. Their only win this season has been a 66-10 win over Fordham.
Texter says, I'll take whoever plays any team in South Carolina. D-Fig on the text line. Look here. We just said the Upset Picks Challenge does not open until tomorrow at 4. D-Fig, you've already sent it in, and you know this thing every week opens Wednesday at 4. It's not open yet. The close sign's still there, and the neon open sign's not on yet. Wait till tomorrow at 4, D-Fig. It's not open. You're going to start we're going to have to start deducting points for early. I mean, come on.
Well, we're certainly not going to correct you on the day of. So it is incumbent on you now. Maybe he's saying that's his early lean, Cole. I mean, the way he worded it, he said, I'm taking.
Yeah, he did. Okay,
Well,
if it's his early lean, I apologize.
But D-Fig, that does not count as your official entry.
Right. That's right.
If you don't send one in tomorrow starting at 4, it doesn't count.
Do you have any interest in Auburn on the road at College Station? Taking down A&M. A&M's favored by 6.5 tomorrow.
Jackson Arnold's, I mean, maybe. They didn't play badly, and they did get hosed, right? They got hosed in that Oklahoma game. By the way, did you see the video of – it was a position coach, so I don't know who he was. It certainly wasn't Brent Venables. After that touchdown throw on the fake injury play, he flashed a middle finger at the camera.
No.
You didn't see it?
No.
Oh,
that's great.
Oh, the throw is made, the touchdown is scored, and he goes, and I don't think I can show this on the screen, Cole. Just look. He goes, whop, right there in the
man.
right
That's brutal.
there in
That's
the
brutal.
camera.
Brutal.
He knew he was cheating.
I'll tell you what's not brutal. Jack Veltri, Gamecock Central. You hear him every Tuesday at this time. We're talking Gamecocks with Jack next. Every single Tuesday at this very time, we talk to Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central, who we appreciate his time. We appreciate him jumping in rather, and helping enlighten you Gamecock fans out there. Make sure you give him a follow, read his work, share his work, and help him get his stuff out there. He does a fantastic job at Gamecock Central, and we appreciate your time. Jack, how are you, man?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic on this Tuesday. South Carolina's biggest news right now, obviously coming off of a couple of losses, sitting at 500 on the season, Jack. And, you know, it felt like a lot hinged on that game with Missouri on Saturday. But in your mind, where would you say the focus of this fan base now lies in terms of what I just said, that the biggest problems, the biggest issues? Where do you think fans are going first? Where do you think the attacks start right now?
Yeah, they're definitely frustrated. I think a lot of people are on that Mike Shula needs to be fired bandwagon and all that. And I respectfully disagree. I think, you know, first off, I mean, I feel like I have this conversation with fans all the time, but it's like, you know, what is firing him going to do? What is your immediate plan after that? It's like, who are you going to promote? Oh, well, you can promote Sean Elliott. That seems to be a popular guest from the fans. So look, I think the play calling is definitely questionable, to say the least. I think the fans, you know, look at the numbers and you see that South Carolina's not doing too hot in terms of offense so far this year. But I did see some things on Saturday that give me a little bit of hope that they are improving. Again, Lenore Sellers did throw for 300 yards in that game, and the rushing attack was not there at all. There were some sacks. I mean, it wasn't all great, but again, a step in the right direction in terms of the passing. So the fans are frustrated. I think it definitely does start with Shula and the play calling.
Well, Jack, I will remind all of the Tolos that Sean Elliott's offenses weren't exactly prolific at Georgia State. I know the athletes were not the same, but I don't know if that's the route you want to go. And also, I lived under one season of Ted Roof as my team's defensive coordinator, where it looked awful at the beginning of the season, and it got better towards the end. So maybe give it a little time, South Carolina Gamecock fans. Let it cook. Let it bake just a little bit longer. You look back at that game on Saturday there, Jack, and chunk plays and penalties really doomed South Carolina in that one. 14 penalties for 98 yards, 5 pre-snap penalties, a defensive PI, a couple of face masks. You know, you hear ways that coaches will try to stop fumbles. They'll like duct tape a football to a player's hands for a week and say, this is what I want you to do with the football. How is Shane Beamer and staff going to address those kind of issues, the super high penalty numbers?
Well, I think the one way they're doing it is just by, you know, they've tried to do it in practice and during film sessions and stuff, of watching back on the tape and explaining why the penalty happened, why it's not okay to have that penalty, and trying to correct it in that way. But Shane was talking about it today, like, you know, that stuff is just not working. Like, it's not, for whatever reason, it's not, the message is not getting to the players the right way. So they're looking for ways to tweak that. And they've done some things in practice without getting the specifics from Shane, because he didn't really mention it specifically, but he just said there were some things in practice that they've tweaked and adjusted on how they handle it and when it happens in practice. And they'll see if it's any better on Saturday.
Jack, how on earth do you explain in a Division I football game with SEC players having -9 rushing yards?
You don't. It just happened, and it's quite frankly unacceptable. I think the one way you can explain it, Cole, is that the blocking up front at times maybe just didn't give you enough holes to run through. Maybe we can also just accept the fact that maybe this running back room is just not all it's cracked up to be.
Talking to Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central at Jack T. Veltri is where you can go find him and give him a follow. Jack, why isn't Lenore Sellers comfortable with the intermediate pass game? You know, we saw him go downfield a lot, or attempt downfield a lot, but he's not really kind of hitting those check downs or those shorter routes. What's going on there?
Yeah, I think the passing attack was a lot better this past weekend, but still, like you said, Diesel, there's definitely improvements to be made. I mean, some throws Lenore just did not hit on. There were a few balls that nearly got picked off by Missouri in that game. So, Yes, he did throw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns and all that good stuff. But again, I think some of the decision-making needs to be a little bit better. I'm not sure exactly what the reason is for the intermediate passing and why it's not better. I think, I don't really know what you could chalk it up to other than that, the fact of, you're still trying to get comfortable in this Mike Shula offense. But I wish I had a better answer for you, quite honestly. But, at the very least, the downfield passing game does seem a lot better so far this season, which is a good sign for Lenore's, as South Carolina is trying to help him in the pocket a little bit more.
Jack, let's go back to the run game for a second. You brought up the stable of running backs, or the lack thereof. Look, Mike Shula's offense play calling has been great. No. Has the offensive line play been great? No. Has the running back play been great? No. I mean, at some point, and you and Diesel kind of mentioned this a minute ago, like maybe it takes some time to figure out. The problem is you're in the SEC. You don't have time. You've got to microwave this thing and get that pot pie out in like 2 minutes, not 35 minutes in the oven, like grandma wants it to be. You've got to figure out a way to get this train rolling quickly. What immediate actions do you feel like you've heard Shane Beamer's taken to get this ship back on track?
I think the trying to figure out, what is working and what's not working. Obviously, they focused a lot more on tackling today, which is hard to believe that they're just now seemingly doing a little bit more tackling. Again, Shane's talked about that they do tackling every single day, but I think it was pretty alarming that you hear players talking about they're emphasizing tackling more this week when, quite frankly, that should have been the case all along. Just my opinion. I think just figuring that stuff out of what's working, what's not working, how do we adjust it, whether it's personnel, whether it's literally anything that has to do with the football program. If there needs to be adjustments, they're going to try and make them.
Jack, Shane Beamer is 1-4 against Eli Drinkwitz. Is it out coaching or is it out talenting?
Good question. I think it's personally out coaching. I do. I think South Carolina has, I think you can argue South Carolina has more talent than Missouri. They should. I don't see why they wouldn't. But I do think it is Eli outsmarting him and just being better. You look at the game on Saturday, so many missed tackles, 16 missed tackles, 14 penalties, 5 sacks. I mean, that is just not good football right there. When you have that many mistakes in the game, it simply comes down to the fact that you're just not doing enough to win on the field. So I don't think it has much to do with talent, but rather what is going on with South Carolina just in general from not being disciplined on the field.
We're talking to Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central. Give him a follow on Twitter, on X at Jack T. Veltri. Jack, a little bit of a format breaker here. Your reaction to the news about John Mateer and the hand injury that could sideline him for some time.
You know what's going to happen, Cole. I'm going to tell you how it's going to go right now. He's going to miss a few weeks here, but then I've seen some rumors from, I think Pete Nakos put out that he could be ready for the Texas game. But let's say he's not. I will bet my money that he's ready for that South Carolina. That is just the way it goes in South Carolina Gamecock land. I mean, that's that's some big news. I didn't realize that he had suffered this injury and whatnot, keeping up with South Carolina and stuff. Haven't had a ton of time to watch, but it's not good, especially for the Heisman race and whatnot. But you hope Mateer gets better soon, but hopefully not too soon to where he's lighting up the field against South Carolina in a few weeks.
Jack, we were sold a bill of goods going into the season that Nick Harbor had dedicated himself to being a wide receiver. He wasn't running track anymore. He was football. And what does he produce? 10 receptions for 210 yards. Now, part of that, of course, is on the Norris Sellers throwing an accurate ball. Part of it is on the offensive line giving a play time to develop. But through 4 weeks of the season now, he's sitting at 122nd in college football when it comes to receiving yards. What's he doing that's not working? And then also, what is he doing off ball maybe that pro scouts would actually see and say, well, that's pretty good off ball work?
Yeah, I think just the thing that Lenore's probably needs to work on more than anything is I don't know if I call it situational awareness, but kind of reading the field a little bit more of like, you look back at the first and goal play call, for as questionable as that call was, where they did try to throw a pass on a play action, the split banana I formation. I think the play would work if a few things went right. Number one, Rasul Faison's got to block better. And it's plain and simple. I don't care what the excuse is. He has got to block better on that play because diving right at a guy's leg, I get what he was doing, but it was a piss poor attempt, quite honestly. And then you had Sellers roll back, and honestly, he had a guy open over the middle of the field, but he could just not, for whatever reason, he just did not see Jordan Dingle open at the end zone, and that's a problem right there. So you got to have your eyes looking everywhere and just trying to make these throws. And look, some of what he did in the passing game was great, but there were some sacks he took, like the one I just mentioned on 1st and goal, where it's just like, what are you doing? I mean, you got to be able to step up in the pocket and make some throws, because he just looked a little flustered at times, in my opinion. But still, overall good game. But when you're looking at it from a scout standpoint, it's like, yeah, there's still a little bit of work left to do.
Gamecock fans, if you have a question for Jack, you can leave it on the stream or on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, 844-326-3663. I've seen a lot of conversation, Jack, in the last day or two about leadership and vocal leadership on this football team, or lack thereof. Is that where we are in the point in the season where every single thing is going to be talked about and criticized, or do you feel like there might be something there?
I think there is a little bit something there. I think this team does. Here's the thing. They have leaders, I think, but we just don't know for sure who they are. That's the main thing here. Like, there was a question brought up today, I think by John Will from the Big Spur, asking a good question that, fans and people on the outside knew who the leaders were last year. It was Dabo Williams. It was Demetrius Knight. Yeah. Any veteran guy in that defense or offense, you knew who the leaders were right away. I just don't think we could say the same with conviction today that for this team right now, truly, like you asked me, like I could tell you maybe like a guy or two, but I couldn't tell you definitively, like for sure, who the leaders are. We expect it to be Lenore Sellers, but he's more of that quiet, stoic type of guy. And I think they have a lot of guys that lead by example as opposed to being super, super vocal. So again, it's a little trickier to navigate who those leaders are currently for this team right now. But I think that's mainly just because of all they lost after last year.
Jack, I know that, I don't remember if we talked about it, but I know others have, and Dylan Stewart getting a little frustrated, obviously, that he's being double teamed all the time and not able to put up the numbers that he would like to be. And hey, getting double teamed is a sign of respect. It means that they know you're a threat. How is this coaching staff keeping him sort of keeping his head in the game, knowing that his numbers aren't going to be what he'd like them to be, but that NFL scouts notice those sort of things, what he's doing?
Yeah, I think the main thing with Dylan is that you just got to keep him, level-headed, right? I think they got to, they've continued to talk about the fact that, for him, it's just making sure, he's not beating himself up and getting super frustrated over little things, right? I mean, he's got to be the bigger man, essentially, is I think what the coaching staff is trying to get at. And, I don't know how that's been so far, quite honestly. I think from what we've seen on the field, it still feels like Dylan has some room to grow in that way, but it's going to happen every single week. It's nothing new that he's going to get double teamed and that teams are going to try to go away from him. It's on him to, not sit there and pout about it, but try to make sure that he's still effective in the game.
Jack, I asked our audience on Friday, and I'm going to put you on the spot for this one. This one's off the wall, but I want to hear your answer. South Carolina now 2-2 on the season. I think we led the show with this on Friday, this past Friday. For Clemson fans in the audience, as well as South Carolina fans in the upstate, if you had to compare your team to a game day food, the current state of your team compared to a game day food, what food would you compare your team to? And we had some really good ones. I think Diesel, my favorite one was, I don't remember who brought this up, if it was Smitty, but compared to one team to like a 7-layer dip, in terms of how there could be some upside, but also you could feel some repercussions later on, right? Especially if you're getting those beans a little too much. Jack, South Carolina now 2-2 on the season. What game day dish, what game day item would you equate to South Carolina at this point in the season?
Oh gosh, I think I'd also probably go with the 7-layer dip. It feels like there's a lot going on in terms of different things that are going wrong for this team. You have the penalties, you have the missed tackles, you have the offensive inefficiencies, you have the sacks, the offensive line play, the inability to run the football. That's like 6 things I just mentioned right there, Cole. There's probably a lot more that you can get at to make a really complicated dip. So I think I'd probably say that.
Jack, my last question for you here, and this is going to sound a little rough, but I don't think I'm pushing too many boundaries here. Shane Beamer's win percentage, 56% at South Carolina. And I know the fans love him. I know that he's building an amazing culture there, and that's worth a lot. But they're also paying him $8 million a year. The question is a 56% win percentage good enough to be the head coach at South Carolina?
No, definitely not. You have to win more here, and I get it. South Carolina does not have exactly the winningest tradition ever, right? Like they are. I think they're the definition of inconsistency over the years, with some really good years and then some not so good years.
That's right.
You know, I think for Shane, the goal every year is to win, and I think more realistically is to get to a bowl game every single year. And when you don't do that, I think that's a failure of a season, in my opinion. So yeah, look, winning 56% of his games is not great. You're in a really tough conference and all that, and I know the job that he's done has been a little bit up and down, but I think he's done a pretty good job overall. It's just, you know, when you lose some of the games that you do, it's kind of like, you know, how did you lose that one? How did you lose that one? It's stuff that you got to get corrected.
Jack, real quick before we let you go, Dakota on the text line says, does Jack think Sellers is actually fully healthy? He looked a little edgy last Saturday.
Good question. I think, probably not 100%. I think it just came down to the fact of you had the apparent head injury from the Vanderbilt game. I think it's also just a little bit that mindset of like, okay, like don't get hurt. Like, I feel like we're kind of seeing that, but look, my stance on it is if you're out playing, you're 100%.
Jack, you're the best, man.
Thanks,
Appreciate
Jack.
it, guys.
Absolutely. You know what? Real quick, Diesel, before we run to a break, we talked about this in the offseason. Like, going back to your Shane Beamer question to Jack there, we talked about, and on this show, while we knew Lenore's was going to be good, we so many times said they lost a lot defensively.
Mm-hmm.
They lost some leaders defensively. They lost Rocket Sanders. So I'm not really surprised that South Carolina's 2-2. I had them winning, obviously, more of these first 4 than they have. But the glaring issues have been, I believe, more glaring than we initially believed them to be.
And I want to be clear about that question. I in no way, shape, or form think Shane Beamer should be anywhere close to a hot seat. He is. If he left today, he would leave that program far better than the way he found it. Far, far better.
That's true.
When we come back, Cole, we started the conversation earlier. We didn't get a chance to get as deep into it as I would like. So let's jump back to if Clemson took the nuclear option and moved on from Dabo, or if Dabo got frustrated with you fans, you ungrateful fans, and just decided, I'm out of here. What options do they have that could actually be better? That's next. Cole, earlier we were grading the possible options if Clemson, for whatever reason, found itself leaderless by the end of the season. We've graded Dabo Swinney as a head coach right now. B+, A- head coach. We graded some of the realistic sitting Power 4 head coaches as options. Both of us fairly high on Brent Venables and Kalen DeBoer. Both of us pretty high on Lane Kiffin. Fran Brown, we both have him. I downgraded him from an A to a B+, just because, not a whole lot of sample size there to look at. So let's look at some of the sitting group of 5 head coaches, Cole, and we'll run through these fairly quickly.
Okay.
How would you grade A, B, C, D, F with some pluses and minuses? Jeff Traylor from UTSA. He took a bad UTSA program to 12, 11, 9, and 12 win seasons the last 4 years.
UTSA.
Mm-hmm. San Antonio.
Yeah. What's their record now? You have it?
I don't off the top of my head, but
I got you. It's they're right now 2-2.
2-2. Okay.
Yeah. I'd probably say B.
Makes you wait on them a little bit.
Yeah, B- somewhere around
I'm gonna go
there.
B- as well. So we both go B-. Cole, somebody that you're high on, Jamie Chadwell, who's at Liberty right now, also having a little bit of a struggle this season.
I'd say I don't give him an A. I'd say it's probably, yeah, you're right. They hadn't been great this season. I think he's a B. I go B.
Okay, I got him. I got him as a B-level coach too. I like that. And you bring him home. You bring him to Clemson. You're bringing Willie Korn home as well, because Willie Korn is with him there at Liberty. Cole, this is going to be the name that a lot of colleges are going to go after. John Sumrall, who was at Troy, then he was at Tulane. Everybody's looking at him. He played in the SEC, 35-10 as a head coach. That's a 77.7% win percentage at 2 different schools as a G5 coach.
I think he's been real good.
Really good.
I think B+.
B+. Yeah. I'm gonna go A-.
Okay.
I think the world of John Sumrall. How about Willie Fritz, who was at Georgia Southern and at Houston? He's been around for a while. A little bit of an elder statesman. Any interest in Willie Fritz?
Not really.
Okay. That's fine.
I'd probably go more B-, C+, somewhere around in there.
Would you pay the kind of money to get Jeff Monken away from Army? He's been there for 9 years.
No, I'll pass on.
I wouldn't hire any former Georgia Southern head coach.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Okay, Cole. Let's run through some of the coordinators who are out there.
Okay.
Any interest in promoting Garrett Riley to head coach?
No, God, no.
Any
Are you
interest
kidding me?
in promoting Tom Allen to head coach?
No.
I don't think he wants to be a head coach again anyway.
No,
Okay.
no thanks.
Other coaches that are out there, Brian Hartline, who is the Ohio State OC. He's
Good
known
OC.
as a good, really good recruiter.
Really good. I like Brian Hartline. I think he's done a good job. I think he's going to get a job somewhere eventually. You just look at Ohio State, like they can't keep, they can't keep guys forever.
Right.
Look at last year. Yeah, I think there's interest. I don't know if specifically Clemson's the right match if it were to come open one day, but I think there's interest.
Another option out there is Andy Kotelnicki, who is at Penn State. Is that how you say it?
I don't know. I don't know.
It's spelled Kotelnicki, Kotelnicki.
Not a ton of interest.
Kotelnicki, no.
Not a ton, no.
But if you brought him in and you kept Tom Allen, you could have all Penn State head coaching set up. There's a couple of guys who are on the beach. These are just for fun. Ed Orgeron, we could still get him to yell, "Go Tigers!" Any coaching? Any interest? He's got a national title.
I
Come
like
on.
Ed. I do. I really do. I mean, look, it would never happen, but I like Ed Orgeron.
Yeah.
I wish he would land somewhere back on his feet again. I really do.
A lot of people are going to throw this name around because his name always gets thrown around. Any interest in John Gruden? Do you think they could bring John Gruden to Clemson?
Yeah, I think there's interest there.
But I wouldn't bring him. He's been out of coaching for so long now, and he was an NFL coach.
Yeah, I think there's definitely interest. I'm not saying it's like if the day Dabo leaves, it'd be a serious candidate. I don't think he would be. But if I'm the AD, I think there's a little interest.
It's a splash hire.
And
high energy guy.
We'll see. I'd be interested.
A couple of unrealistic options, Cole. You got to mention them anyway. Dan Lanning and Nick Saban.
I mean, if somehow, some way you could get Dan Lanning, you pay him whatever you want, whatever he asks.
Make him the highest paid coach in college football.
No doubt.
But why would he leave?
He'd be stupid.
Not leaving.
He'd be stupid to leave Oregon to go to Clemson.
So there you go. Brent Venables, good option. Kalen DeBoer, good option. Lane Kiffin, I would love to see Lane Kiffin at Clemson. We actually had a texter say, can we all agree that we're tired of the Bible Belt way of football in Clemson and are ready for a more aggressive approach? That's Lane Kiffin in a nutshell.
I mean, flip the coin, right? On the opposite side, that's what Lane Kiffin would be. Let's do a little stock up, stock down. Top 25 AP. Tolos, you participate next right here on the Fan Upstate.
because every time someone gets to number one, they lose.
Okay.
So no one's really number one right now.
No one's well, there is a number one.
Yeah, technically, but none of them are playing like number one teams.
Okay. Thanks, Dewey.
Thanks, Dewey.
Stock up, stock down. Miami, who sits at number 2. They moved up 2 spots. They are 4-0 on the season. Diesel, Carson Beck looks pretty good, right? We had some questions about Miami. I've been more impressed with their defensive line. I think they were able to revamp the defense pretty well. They've got wins over Notre Dame, Bethune-Cookman, USF, and Florida. I think that's 2 quality wins there in Notre Dame and Florida. I say stock up on the Hurricanes.
Yeah, they got a rocket up their shorts because they are flat. Wait, I didn't like the way that sounded.
Redo, Mulligan. Go ahead.
They got a rocket in their seat because they're flying to the moon. Something like that. Let's put it that way. No, they are fast, quickly shooting up this list. Really, really good team. Stock up
on the Hurricanes. Let's see. Lefty Tiger says stock way down on DUIY, Dewey. I was reading it because I didn't understand how you spelt Dewey. I think it's D-E-W. I guess it's D-E-W-E-Y. Lefty Tiger says the big people are Syracuse and Missouri. Go to bed, Dewey. D-U-I-Y. That's funny. Stock up, stock down, Tolos. If you just tuned in, AP Top 25. Penn State Diesel fell 1 spot in the poll. They are now the 3rd best team according to the AP poll. Stephen Webb just said a few minutes ago when he called in, he was really high on Penn State. They fell even though they're 3-0. I guess the quality win, maybe Nevada, FIU, Villanova still lacking. I don't know exactly where I am on Penn State yet when it comes to stock up and stock down. And I think a lot of that, Diesel, has to do with who they've played.
Yeah, we need more information on them.
Why?
Like,
What you mean?
you can do it against, middling competition, but show me something.
And FIU and Villanova.
We're going to find out, though, here in 4 days when they face Oregon.
Oh, yeah. Is that the game of the week, by the way?
Got to be. 7:30. Well, it is the 7:30 NBC game.
Find me a better game this weekend.
No,
you're not going.
You can't.
That's going to be epic, by the way.
Who's Furman playing this weekend?
You're terrible. Diesel, wide out.
Love
at Beaver Stadium. Are you kidding me? Saturday night, 7:30. It doesn't get much better. It doesn't get much better and bigger than that. That's going to be a lot of fun. I'm with you. I need more information on Penn State. I'm still high on them.
They've looked impressive in all of their games. I mean, come on. They've given up 17 points this year to Nevada, FIU, and Villanova. That's impressive. And one of those games was a shutout. They shut out FIU 34-0. They also, Cole, haven't played a road game yet this season. They will start their season. Who is putting these schedules together? They will start their season with 4 straight home games, culminating this weekend with Oregon, and then they go on the road for their first true road game against UCLA, a team that they might have had a tougher time beating FIU than they will UCLA.
And that's a big one, man. I mean, we're like you said, we're going to learn a lot. After Oregon, they have UCLA, Northwestern, Iowa State, Indiana. So it's going to get tougher.
Yeah. Who knows? What if they're the team that falls apart towards the end of the season? There's always one.
Yeah. I mean, the schedule's it's about to get real quick. Stock up, stock down on LSU. And by the way, caller, we lost you. If you want to call back in, you can at 844-326-3663. Diesel, LSU dropped in the poll. They're now 4. They were 3. They're 4-0. LSU's been interesting.
How do they drop in the poll when they win 56-10? I mean,
they should have won 65-10.
Right. They didn't play anybody, right? I mean, but maybe it's still a little hangover from the Florida game where, they won the game 20-10. Maybe people are mad at Brian Kelly.
Yeah.
Because he came after the media. I don't know. I mean, they have not looked impressive against against any FBS competition yet, though. 17-10 win at Clemson, 23-7 win at home against Louisiana Tech, 20-10 home win against Florida. Defense is impressive. They haven't torched an FBS opponent yet to make you say, ooh, they can really do it against some good athletes.
No, I'm with you. I think I don't want to say like the jury's out on LSU because that doesn't sound fair. I just don't know that I can say stock up.
Still need more data. And maybe they're that team that wins games by 10, and
maybe that's who they are.
That's all
maybe
it
it's
takes.
not sexy.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not a sexy LSU Joe Burrow-led team, right? Where they have the most prolific offense in the history of college football. Maybe that's what it is, Diesel. Maybe it is. Because I don't feel like it's fair to say I need more data because they've played Clemson and Florida, even though Clemson, we know now that some weeks have passed, Clemson's not really good at football, but I think they've played some good teams. It's just a matter of, I think, what you said. It's not sexy football right now. And you know what? I think this Saturday at Ole Miss is going to be a test. I really do. I think Saturday at Ole Miss is going to be a big – last I looked, I think it's like a 2.5 point spread. I think that's going to be a big one for Ole LSU. No movement at 5. Georgia, the Bulldogs. Stock up, stock down, Diesel, for Kirby Smart's Dogs.
Oh, well, what have they done in their couple of weeks of the season? My immediate reaction about Georgia, I think they're just kind of floating. They had a bad defensive performance against Tennessee. They needed a kick that should have been made. I mean, you had a really good kicker just miss a kick, and that should be a loss. They should be sitting at 2-1. So to me, I'm kind of just sitting at neutral with Georgia.
So I love the win over Tennessee.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was one of the best games on television last Saturday, right? Austin Peay and Marshall, to your point. I mean, congratulations, right? And you barely beat Austin Peay. Wasn't a good-looking game. You know, I think when you ask about data and needing more information, I think that's fair probably up until this weekend. I think it's still early enough to ask for more data. But after this weekend, we'll know. Like, they play Alabama. The game's in Athens. It's sold out, 7:30. I mean, look at the slate this weekend, by the way. Like, I don't want to do anything on Saturday except watch football all day long. I think Georgia wins. I think Georgia's legit.
Mm-hmm.
I think Georgia's a playoff team. So I think, you hear me use the word think several times, I think stock up on Georgia. Like, here's where I am. I always am going to trust Kirby Smart. I'm going to trust that guy to get it done, right?
Yeah,
their defense is legit.
And you get a home game against Alabama. Remember we were thinking Alabama was in trouble. Alabama's toast. They're going to
after they lost,
they're going to win 6 games, and now they're sitting in a matchup predictor, basically a 50-50 toss-up game, 55% Georgia, 45% Alabama. This is going to be one heck of a football game. We're going to learn a lot about these two teams.
Yeah, I think so. Oregon also no movement, Diesel, at 6 in the AP poll. They're 4-0, wins over Montana State, Oklahoma State, who's now looking for a head coach, Northwestern, and Oregon State. This has not been a good stretch in terms of competition. Let's just call it like it is here. They hadn't played anybody. Now, they've scored a lot of points.
They have entered the season on roller skates in the best possible way.
They have. And you mentioned it earlier. Penn State, wide out, Saturday night, 7:30 our time. We'll know. I have a lot of faith, though, that Oregon's legit this year, that they're a contender. I know you're 4 games in and saying, like, I really don't know if stock. I'm going to say stock up until proven otherwise. How about that?
Well, there's only about 3 or 4 teams that I feel like I trust at this point in the season that I can say maybe not trust, maybe I'm confident that they are really, really good football teams. And Oregon is one of them, right? They have the number 2 offense, the number 5 defense. They're a really good team. Yeah. I mean, the problem is they run into some other teams that I really trust over the next couple of weeks.
Do you trust Oregon?
I do.
Yeah.
I trust any Dan Lanning-led team. I think he's creative enough to pivot in the middle of a game if his game plan is not working, or to have something up his sleeve that he's been cooking and churning like a witch's brew.
Yeah, a little
for
old butters.
a couple of months. It's been in the back of his head for a year. Like, I'm gonna call this play.
I like Dan Lanning a lot too. I'm with you. Again, on Oregon, I don't love who they've played, but I am going to say stock up until proven otherwise. Today, on this Tuesday, I think Oregon wins Saturday night. I think it's going to be a heck of a game, Diesel, but it's just hard for me not to believe in Dan Lanning. Oklahoma moved up 4 spots. Oklahoma's looking good. Now, we just got some bad news in the last hour about John Mateer and the old hand that's injured.
Yeah, those are important. If
They
you're a
are,
quarterback,
especially if you're like you said, a quarterback. They're 4-0, moved up 4 spots. They play Kent State next Saturday. You said it earlier. They're off this week. Take John Mateer and his injury out of the picture for a second. Okay. How do you say anything but stock up? I mean,
yeah,
Brent Venables, quarterback matters. We know that, but my goodness, he's done a really good job getting this program to being a contender.
Talk about this game, giving and taking away. Brent Venables, he was beloved when he came back.
Yeah.
He got his extension very, very quickly, even though the results weren't necessarily there. He finally gets his quarterback. It looks like they're off to the races. He's headed for a Heisman Trophy, and then bam, he goes down with a hand injury. That's tough, man. That really is tough. And if John Mateer is still there, it's stock up. I mean, I'm putting him in my top 2 or top 3 in the country, but man, we'll see. We'll see how fast he can get back.
Diesel, real quick before we run to a break, here's what's unfortunate about their situation with Mateer and that hand injury. They're not in the ACC.
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to have a 4-week window where they can squeak by with a backup quarterback. They play in the SEC. And, it would be terribly unfortunate for Oklahoma when the season's all said and done. Diesel will be looking back thinking, man, if it weren't for that John Mateer hand injury, we'd be in the college football playoff. Like, that is unfortunately a very real possibility right now.
Well, looking at their upcoming schedule, good thing is they got a bye week, and then they've got Kent State, and then they play Texas at home. So you're talking about right now, you're talking about 3 weeks to get himself back. I don't know how significant. It's a broken bone in his right throwing hand.
That's significant, man.
Yeah, but then again, I mean, you hear. I know you can't compare these 1-to-1, but you hear about guys who have like ACL injuries that are back in like 2 months.
I know.
It's crazy. So you got to believe he's going to get the surgery done, that they're going to be doing nonstop rehab. Give it 3 weeks. Maybe he's good enough to face Texas. Obviously, Texas has not looked amazing so far. They're 3-1. I mean, God, we hadn't even talked about Arch lording it over a Sam Houston defender. But against similar level competition, all you can look at is the Ohio State game. It was a 14-7 ball game.
Sure.
I mean, Texas has not looked great against power competition.
Yeah. Rapid fire on these last ones. Stock up, stock down on 3-0 Florida State, who dropped a spot from 7 to 8. By the way, they play Virginia this Saturday at Virginia, who's 3-1, by the way.
Was Florida State off last weekend, or did they
Florida
play?
State.
They were off.
Yeah, I think so. I think
they
you're
played
right on
3 games. Yeah. I'm gonna say stock up on Florida State. I'm still high on them. I mean, they've been blowing out teams that they're supposed to blow out, and they beat Alabama.
A&M stock up. Oh, by the way, I agree with you. For now, for the time being, until they show us otherwise, A&M stock up, stock down.
Let's see. A&M has the 1-point win against Notre Dame on the road. They got wins over a couple of G5 teams. I'm saying stock down because when they finally faced a decent offense, they gave up a ton of points, and I don't know if they can outscore everyone all season long.
Yeah. Texas sits at 10. They're 3-1. They have the opening loss to Ohio State. Since then, they've won 3 straight, Diesel. They dropped 2 spots in this week's poll. They were at 8. Now they're at 10. I don't want to say – here's what I'm going to go on 10 on Texas. I'm going to land in the middle. I just genuinely can't say stock up. I genuinely can't say stock down because I do trust Sark to figure things out and get Arch playing better. But I can't say stock up right now.
Yeah, how do you analyze 309 yards against Sam Houston State? I mean, it's far below you caliber-wise of competition. 310 yards, 3 touchdowns, QBR of 81 for Arch in that game. Maybe that's a get your swagger back game and he plays better in the coming weeks, in which case I'm happy to shoot their stock up at that point, but I'm not there yet. I mean, even with Arch not playing his best, you're supposed to beat Sammy Houston State 55-0.
Dexter says, man, if Oklahoma beats Texas without Mateer, the heat on Sark will be scorching hot. I don't know. Yeah, if you don't have Mateer and somehow, some way that happens. Let me pull the music down. Let me grab this phone call real quick. We have time for this, Diesel?
Yeah, we do. We in the next segment on the show, we're going to talk about Panthers and Falcons. Was it just an anomaly? Could it be a catalyst? But,
old Rick and Greer wants to weigh in, but Rick and Greer called yesterday, and I feel like every time Rick and Greer calls, he always drops off the phone. So, Rick and Greer, you're on the air, and I guess why do you always drop off before we put you on?
Because I've got to deliver my babies. I deliver babies.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
And now I'm just kidding. It's my job. I just try to work and get around.
Yeah.
By calling y'all. Sometimes I have to go.
I got you. What's on your mind today, Rick? Rick, we called you. You called us. We didn't call you.
Diesel.
Yes.
Who played on that field at the Panthers? It wasn't the Panthers. Couldn't have been the Panthers. They won 30-0. Who was playing on that field? Was it the Buffalo Bills or who was it?
What people don't know is they hired a bunch of bums off the street. They still put them in the same jersey. Didn't have enough time to get all new jerseys made for all the bums that played in that game. But that's who played, Rick.
I wondered, there was a guy about 6'8" that was quarterbacking. I knew it could be my midget. Okay? They threw the ball way too well to be that midget. Are they coming back? Just give me some false hope.
Well, Rick, I'll tell you this:
the midget.
Listen to the next segment because that's what we're going to talk about in the very next segment of the show, and then you can call in and react. Rick, how about that?
Okay, and how about the Atlanta Braves? What is it? 8 straight, 9 straight,
9, baby.
It'd be nice if it actually mattered. They're eliminated. They're eliminated. It doesn't matter. You go on this win streak, it doesn't matter.
Well, are they getting rid of
Snicker?
Earl Clay?
All indications point towards no at this point.
Thanks, Rick.
Appreciate the phone call.
Gosh.
So let's go there in the next segment of the show. Not that Rick pointed us in that direction. We were already going there anyway. But Panthers Falcons, Cole, anomaly or catalyst? That's next. Well, Cole, having a stock up, stock down conversation is a great way of looking at what we saw this past week. Carolina, 30, Atlanta, nothing. A performance that none of us saw coming from these Carolina Panthers. They were playing complimentary football all over the field. The defense was really good. The offense, pretty good. And special teams, really good as well. The question is, can a win like that, or do you believe that a win like that for the Carolina Panthers is an anomaly or will be a catalyst for bigger and better things week after week after week? We saw it happen last year. Well, we saw what happened when they didn't have a catalyst game 2 years ago in 2023. We saw what happened when they benched Bryce Young and then brought him back. They had that catalyst and they started playing really well. After that, had some really great performances against the best teams in the NFL. Do we believe that something like that is happening again after that Atlanta game?
You know, it's a good question. Number one, like I said yesterday, in the NFL, Diesel, you will take a win any way you can get it. It doesn't matter if your offense has 4 yards or 400 yards. You'll take it any way you can get it. Now, with that being said, with the Carolina Panthers, they won 30-0. Bryce Young didn't throw a touchdown pass. I'm not sitting here today screaming off the top of the roof that that's a huge issue, but Bryce Young still didn't look great to me. He made some good throws, but he wasn't like – I didn't watch him and think, oh, that's a guy that can go out there and win 9 games this year. I just didn't. So the way my philosophy is toward the Panthers this season, Diesel, is very simple. It goes back to the old saying, a win, a loss, most things in life, it's never as good as you think. It's never as bad as you think. I don't think it's a great performance individually from Bryce Young that makes you feel like, oh boy, we might go win. We might go reel off 6 straight.
Sure.
I think Bryce Young still struggles a lot in 2025. So you'll take it. It's a win. Your defense, you mentioned, was really good. Maybe it's because it's the Panthers. I am not going to call it something that I expect to see.
Well, let's also not forget that Michael Penix is still figuring this thing out as well, right?
He wasn't good.
If he doesn't throw 2 interceptions, maybe we're talking about a different kind of ball game. Maybe we're talking about more of a 24-14, 24-17 kind of game. We're talking about a close game, and hey, again, you'll still take those wins.
You'll take
any way
you
can get them. But Michael Penix was terrible in that. Michael Penix served up 2 ducks in the air that were easy to bring down. Cole, I still remember something that I heard Anish Shroff, the play-by-play voice of the Carolina Panthers, say last year on the radio. He said the goal for this team is to go from losing big to losing small, then go from losing small to winning small, and go from winning small to winning big. I don't think this Carolina Panthers team is going to have another performance like what we saw. They're not going to face a quarterback that serves up multiple interceptions and looks as inept as the Falcons did in that game.
And again, you do give the Panthers a lot of credit for making Michael Penix look as bad as he did, because he wasn't good, right? A player can be not good. It can happen. But at the same time, a defense can cause a player to look bad as well. Both can be true. Did Michael Penix have his best game Sunday? No. Did the Panthers defense have a lot to do with that? Maybe so. So here's what you look at. You say, okay, is this just a blip on the radar, Diesel, or is this going to be a common trend? Well, look at what they've already done. They lost to Jacksonville. They didn't look good that week. Lost to Arizona, looked good in the fourth quarter, right?
Right.
You beat Atlanta. You're on the road next week at New England. That's this Sunday.
They're a bad team.
New England had 4 turnovers, I believe, on Sunday, and a lot of fumbles. Mm-hmm. They turned the ball over a lot. Now, you're still going against Mike Vrabel. It's still going to be tough to go on the road. Yeah, it's still tough. It's the NFL. Let's be honest.
Do we trust this team to win in an environment that is stacked against them? A bad team going on the road at a bad team in a tough environment.
No, not yet. Now, again, you also do look, Diesel, at the opponents. Like when the season started, you and I looked at what this Panthers team could be, and we made our predictions. But now things have changed. Here's what's realistic. If you feel like you can get good quarterback play and good defensive play, all of a sudden, the next stretch of games becomes winnable, Because, Diesel, you look at New England, you just said they're not a great team. Winnable game. Miami, winnable game. They're not good.
Right.
Dallas has been awful.
Yep.
All of a sudden, that becomes a winnable game. They just lost to the freaking Bears. So, preseason, fast forward a few weeks, our thoughts change a little bit. And now, oh, by the way, after that, they play the Jets.
Yeah.
Winnable game. And then you do have Buffalo and the Packers, and it's going to get tough. But what I'm saying is you've got to stretch right now before you get to the Rams and Niners and Packers and Bills. I think this next 4-game stretch will be very indicative of how they'll finish, meaning if they don't perform well in this 4-game stretch, Diesel, probably going to be a team that struggles to find 3 wins.
Well, what I am encouraged by is the fact that they lost a couple of offensive guys that they needed on that line. They lose them for a better part of the season or the entire season.
Yeah.
Backups come in, and they played really good as an offensive line against the Falcons. They gave up just 1 sack, and Bryce deserves credit for not taking multiple sacks. He deserves credit for not, doing what Bryce likes to do, which is run backwards when he feels the pressure. He doesn't do a great job of running laterally side to side towards the sideline. He runs back towards the wrong end zone, and he takes big sacks doing that. They only took 1 sack for 7 yards. So the offensive line deserves a lot of credit. Again, I don't know if they can do that again and do it week after week after week. But the good news is, like you were saying, you get to galvanize this team in a stretch of bad opponents. And,
you do.
And including the game that they just won, you're in the middle of a 5-game stretch against bad football teams. They could reel off 3 or 4 wins in this stretch. That's certainly the ceiling. 4 wins of what they get, because they're going to mess up. They're going to lose one of those football games. They're going to play bad in one of them. But I mean, if you can use this as an opportunity, instead of trying to become a good football team against the best teams in the league like they did over the last 5 or 6 weeks of last season, you get to do it against bad teams, and all of a sudden, maybe you reel off 4 of them.
I think at best you win 3 of the next 4. Like I know you could say, Cole, no, at best you win. I just don't see this team winning 4 games in a row or 5 in a row, 4 of the next 4. I just don't see it happening. I think at best you win 3 of the next 4, and then all of a sudden you're talking about being a 4-3 team, right? Because you're 1 and 2. Now. If you reel off 3 of the next 4, you're a 4-2-3 team. You're 4-3 entering the game against Buffalo. The good news is we all know you're going to lose that game, but you're 4-3 and you're still giving yourself a chance to compete for the division.
What if they get to 4-3 and they play Buffalo in a fairly tight game? I'm going to go back to their schedule. That game is at home. Let's just pretend for a minute that they play that game to 27-20 kind of game, 27-17. You lose by a touchdown. You lose by 10 points. All of a sudden, now you've got the confidence of having done it against a really good team.
And that matters. It matters. Again, the problem is it's not like these are sprinkled in. You've got this tough stretch, or you've got this easy stretch, and then you've got Buffalo, Green Bay,
and
division.
Buffalo struggled against Miami.
Yeah, you did. It's tough. Look, the reality is it's the NFL. There's no breaks.
They're all professionals, like we talked about yesterday. They're all pros, even though some teams can't, figure out which shoe to put their cleats on. I
think the Cardinals were a better team, but I think Carolina missed a golden opportunity of beating Jacksonville. I didn't feel like Jacksonville was worlds better or light years better than Carolina.
No.
I think ultimately Diesel, and look at the Arizona game, 5-point loss. You could be 2-1 right now.
Well, they won the second half of that game pretty convincingly. They won the second half of the game 19-7. So
I'm saying
they just ran out of time.
Yeah, you could be 2-1. You could be 2-1 going into a stretch with the Patriots, Dolphins, Cowboys, Jets. Again, team that's still trying to recreate that culture. The problem is it's just like the SEC we talked about with Carolina, with South Carolina. This is the NFL. You can't just say, hey, we're going to throw this thing in the crock pot and hope in 6 or 7 weeks we get it figured out. Your season, just like last night's game with Baltimore, they're 1-2. Like I know it's a long season, but you've got to win games. So I think this Diesel, going back to what I said a minute ago, I think we'll learn a lot. I think we'll learn a lot about the Panthers in these next 4 weeks. Will they win them all? I don't know that they win them all. I think they right now, if you had to put 4 games, you're gonna give them 2 of those 4.
I'll give them 2.
Yeah. I'd say that sounds probably right. Best case 3, but we'll see. In case you missed it earlier, Wofford made a hire in basketball just a couple of days after I really was tough on Wofford athletics. I'll tell you my theory. This is just my theory on what transpired at Wofford and who the next coach is, in case you missed it, next. Well, earlier today, Diesel, Wofford College over in Spartanburg, introduced their 20th head basketball coach. And if you are a Wofford fan, you know the name Kevin Giltner, who was introduced as the new head basketball coach. He spent a lot of time at Wofford, played there, coached there under Mike Young, went to Virginia Tech with Mike Young, spent 7 or 8 seasons, whatever it's been, since Mike left Wofford to go to Virginia Tech there, and now has come back to be the new head coach. Let's see. Scott Cole, the AD, said it's an exciting day for Wofford men's basketball. First, I want to recognize our players for their patience. I know transitions are never easy. We appreciate your trust and commitment to Wofford College. I also want to thank Drew Gibson for his leadership, loyalty, and care for the student athletes. We're grateful for the way you kept this program moving forward. So, Diesel, you made a really good hire, in my opinion. But I'm going to throw a wild theory at you.
Thank you. I'll take all the credit for it.
Yeah, you should. But if you're Wofford, I was really hard on Wofford Athletics Friday. The firing of Dwight Perry, the state of the football program, they're not good. I was hard on them, and rightfully so, because I grew up a Wofford fan, right? I've always pulled for Wofford. However, I'll tell you this. This is no disrespect to Wofford, and I don't know any of this to be true. I'm just going to throw a theory at you. That's what we do. We give opinions, right? This was awfully this happened awfully fast. You find these violations on Dwight Perry, and then a couple of weeks, not even 2 full weeks later, reports come out that you've hired Kevin Giltner. Let me be very clear. I think Kevin Giltner is the next Wofford basketball coach, is a home run hire. Spending time in the ACC, won an ACC championship with Mike Young. I think it's a great hire. It's a Wofford guy, played there, won championships there. I look at this and think, And this is me not having any knowledge.
Conspiracy brain is
it happened awfully fast, didn't it? It happened fast.
Look, what do they say? Every athletic director has a short list of 5 guys that they'll call immediately if they need to. He was probably at the tippy top of the list. There's a lot of reasons for him to be at the tippy top of that list. And if he says yes, man, you're like, oh my God, we weren't
didn't
really
have to interview anybody else.
We didn't really think that we were going to get him, and we got him. We don't need to bother interviewing anybody else.
All I'm saying
some schools
is
drag it out, and then they talk themselves out of a good candidate.
They do. All I'm saying is, look, this is not factual. This is just the way a lot of people have told me, and I agree with them. This is the way it looks. The way it looks is you found the reason to get rid of your old coach so you could hire
the one you really wanted,
Kevin Giltner. I'm not saying that's true. I have no knowledge of that situation. Man. I'm just saying that's kind of the way it looks. Now, again, I that's just a theory. That's what we do. We throw them out there. I'm not saying it's factual or anything like that, because we love the folks at Wofford and we appreciate them. And we carry Furman. Furman's our flagship, but we cover everything in the upstate, right? It's just funny sometimes, these theories and how they get thrown out there and how things can look.
I just think the opportunity fell right into their lap. Everything aligned the right way. It was an easy sell. You didn't have to press the flesh. You didn't have to politic to get Giltner to accept the job. So I think it probably just happened as smoothly as it possibly could. All the planets aligned, and the hire just worked. Cole, speaking of some audio here, let's play some audio of Dabo Sweeney and that kind of clandestine. It was clandestine because we couldn't get the audio yesterday as was happening live. The audio from his Monday Zoom call, don't call it a press conference. What did Dabo have to say? That's next. Well, is the sky falling? Is Dabo hanging it up because he just doesn't know how to coach anymore? He feels like, oh my God, I'm overwhelmed. We're going to find out directly from his lips what's going on with the Clemson Tigers football team. Cole, this was originally a Zoom call that was scheduled for Sunday night.
Yep.
And they ended up moving it because of the bye week. They moved it to a Monday. And some people were freaking out, like, oh my God, are they going to announce some major change? No, it was just a little scheduling thing. Coaches, they are creatures of habit. And if something changes to allow them to have a night off, by God, they're going to take it. And after an emotional loss like that, I think Dabo probably needed a little bit more time to get his thoughts in order for this Zoom call. So let's do a little listen and react to the Zoom presser from last night and see if we can parse some words on what's really going on in Dabo's mind.
I've already heard enough.
Oh, we haven't heard any.
No, I'm already heard enough. I've just got so sick and tired of hearing Dabo lately. I don't want to hear anymore. But if you force me, I will.
Does he apologize here? Does he say, I'm sorry that I ripped you guys a new one last week when nobody really asked? I went off all half cocked and then we got our asses beat.
Okay, well, fine. Maybe he did. Let's see. Tolos, let's react with you. Here's Dabo.
Okay, I appreciate it, Ross. All right, just a quick recap from the game. Obviously, incredibly disappointing, and from big picture standpoint, just can't seem to play complimentary football. First half defense really struggled offensively. We really were rolling pretty good with limited opportunities, and then just got too much of a hole, and again a slow start, and then second half can't put it all together right now. But there are some positives for sure. I know everybody looks at the record and that's all anybody thinks about, but there are still some positives. We got a great group of young men, and certainly not the record that we wanted or envisioned or worked for, and so a lot of disappointment. But I'm really proud of these guys for how they've hung in there. This is certainly a tough moment for us, but it'll make us better. And I just really like the response from our guys. This is I really believe this is not what we expected, but I don't think it caught God by surprise. That's just what I believe. And so we'll rally. The open date's coming at a really good time for us, and game wise, we came through pretty healthy. We'll have some guys that'll be a little limited this week, but we came out of it pretty good shape, big picture wise. So big week for us as we really reset on what's in front of us. Again, that's what our focus is going to be on, what's in front of us, and just continue to help these players, transform their lives. And again, I don't really know, God's big picture plan, but I do know that He'll use this for good. And I don't have any doubt about that. It might be 20 years from now, one of these players just saying that, hey, here's what happened, and it was the best thing that happened to me, and here's what it taught. So I don't know, but I do know that God is at work here, and we'll use this opportunity to glorify Him through it. So I'll just continue to help these guys, man. We got a great group of young men, just tremendous, seniors and great leaders that have poured everything into Clemson. And my focus is really just to do what I think I do best, and that's coach.
So, first of all, whose phone's buzzing in the middle of the Zoom call?
Yeah,
somebody answer your phone.
Whoever's recording it is.
Second of all, this is an official Zoom call. Whose kid is running around in the background on mic? Third of all,
Got to be better than this, guys.
Here, there are some positives, despite the record does not list any of the positives.
Yeah.
Come on, Dabo. Look.
Well, go ahead. I didn't want to cut you off.
Well, the guys have really hung in there. What do you mean, Dabo? What does that actually mean? Well, some really good things have come out of this. I won't tell you what any of them are. They're not tangible, literal things. I just think that God's at work and our guys have hung in there.
So when you talk about what fans want to hear, to your point there, Diesel, I agree with you. Dabo said there's positives. As a fan, you want to hear, okay, well, what are the positives?
Yeah, what are they?
X's and O's wise. Like, and buddy of mine made a good point earlier today. Excuse me. What are the things that you can touch and feel? Like, okay, what position group's getting better?
Mm-hmm.
What part of the team do you feel like's getting better? You're 1-3. You've lost, 2 in a row now? You lost the opener. You beat Troy barely. Then you lost 2 in a row to Georgia Tech and Syracuse. Is the quarterback getting better? Oh, wait a minute. I have a button for this. Let's do this. Is the quarterback getting better? No. Okay. Offensive line getting better? Okay. Running backs. Hey, hold on. I haven't. Okay, running backs showing improvement, right?
Yeah.
I thought. Look, I feel like the running back's been one of the few bright spots. Diesel.
Yeah.
Wide receivers. No, not really.
I want to hear the tangibles.
That's right.
From Dabo Swinney. I don't want to hear after a 1-3 start. I don't want to hear Dabo sink farther into the Dabo isms.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell us that, well, God's going to use this to improve one of our players' lives and put him in a situation 20 years from now. Come on, Dabo. You're stopping short of saying, I'm praying that we get better.
Well, here's my take on that. While that may be true, it's not what fans want to hear right now.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of things that could be true, but fans right now, their team's 1-3.
That to me sounds like passing the buck, skirting the issue, not addressing what you're actually getting better at, what you're getting worse at. That's just saying, well, it's out of my hands. It's all in God's plan. In which case, literally anybody could be the head coach of the Clemson Tigers. If it's all preordained and you have nothing to do with it, Dabo, and it's God's plan for this team to be 1-3, and for 20 years from now, one of these players to say, hey, back in 2025, we really sucked, but it really helped me out. It's helping me out now. Come on, man. I don't want to hear that from you.
At least the defense is getting better, right? No, defense not getting better. They can't make tackles. So I don't know. When you go back to what you asked, the question, where do you feel like this team's getting better? Let me check the left. The left pocket. No, let me check my right pocket. Did you bring the keys? Let me check my back pocket. What I do with my right back pocket?
I didn't bring the keys, but Dabo brought a shovel. I can tell you that much.
Did you forget to bring the chewing? I can't find it anywhere. I'm saying I can't find any. I don't know. And again, I'm not criticizing Dabo for having his beliefs and morals and all that. That's fine. I have them too, but fans don't want to hear that right now. You're 1-3. You get paid $11 million, whatever it is, to win games.
Yeah.
Plain and simple.
I mean, Dabo, at this point, you need to say, well, last week I prayed 7 times that our offensive line play was going to get better. This week, I'm going to pray 15 times, so we're going to be doubly as good.
I just want to hear him getting after somebody. I want to hear him getting after the players, coaches. I want to hear a little accountability.
This to me says he doesn't have any answers. He doesn't know. Dabo doesn't know what's wrong with his team. He doesn't know what his team is doing right.
Well, there's not a lot they're doing right.
Exactly.
There's not a lot. All right, let's continue. What Dabo said yesterday.
Teach and mentor young men and help them flush this and move forward.
God.
William Christopher. What's in front of us. We're not going to win the national championship this year. We've won 3 in 130 years, but that doesn't mean we can't win the season. Doesn't mean we can't finish well.
I want to pause it right there. Winning the season. Here's what.
He's entering Butch Jones territory.
Well, maybe this isn't fair, but the expectation that Dabo said at Clemson is so high that you go find a Clemson fan right now that feels like the season can still be won. the expectations are past that
Oh,
point.
I know where they are. They're all on our Facebook page right now calling me an absolute idiot, dragging me through the mud for saying Clemson's not going to move on from Dabo. I am not Graham Neff, but if I was, here would be the first 5 names that I would call.
Yeah.
And they're all ripping me. You're an idiot. This guy sucks. Get him off the air. Meanwhile, you got Dabo over here saying, well, I'm going to put our wins and losses in God's hands and see what happens.
So I just think ultimately the season, saving the season, I think ultimately that's too far gone. I think it's too far gone to save the season, unfortunately. Let's continue.
And it doesn't mean that we can't enjoy the journey, because that's what this is. It's just a part of the journey, and this is a tough time, but it'll a lot of great days ahead. And the tough times make you appreciate the good ones even more. There'll be a lot of good ones, but I don't have any doubt. Again, this will make us all
What's
better.
your name?
But from a football standpoint,
Say it again.
we gotta find a way to put it all together. I mean, we just do. There's a lot of good things, and some things, but just consistently getting it all put together has been hard. And football is hard. It's the greatest team sport out there, and getting 11 guys, giving it all they got and getting their job done consistently is where it starts. And we've got a lot of guys that have absolutely done the very best they can do. And sometimes our best isn't good enough. But I believe you should.
There's the only thing you said in the first 4.5 minutes that I agree with. Maybe not that I agree with, because I agree with him on other stuff. Maybe there's the first thing that I think he actually should. Our best right now is not good enough. That's the first thing I've heard. That's what needs to be said right now. You're not good enough. Your best is falling way short, and that's probably an talent evaluation problem. As we're listening and reacting. Let's go to the phone lines, as you can react as well as Diesel and I are doing. 844-326-3663. Andrew wants to react. How do you react, Andrew, thus far from what you've heard, what Dabo said yesterday?
Not even just yesterday, but like last week and everything, the whole time he's not taking responsibility. Like last week he was all, leaning on the stuff of the past and whatnot. No one cares about that. Y'all are right when you say that. That doesn't buy you time today to like not take ownership and say the things that are going poorly and the things you're working on. And this week, it's more of the same.
Yeah, being great years ago doesn't mean you get to suck tomorrow.
Exactly. And now he's just deflecting in a different way, saying, "Oh, it's in God's hand." Well, no, bro. Like, whatever you want to think about God is great, but if no one's there to coach at all and like tell them how to get better, then nothing's going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Andrew. I think that's well said. I'm a person of faith. I really am, but you're right. Ultimately, like if I want my car moved over to that other spot, I'm not going to sit here for 8 hours and hope God moves the car over to the other spot. I've got to go do something about it. And I think we're to the point now where the Clemson fans, a lot of them, not all of them, are tired of hearing the same old. They want the car moved. They want to see a little bit of change. They want to see something different.
Exactly. I mean, but the sad thing, though, is that maybe Dabo is saying this because he knows they're not going to fire him. It's like he's got like a $60 million buyout, so he's got at least 1 or 2 more seasons of potentially poor football left in him.
Thanks, Andrew.
Appreciate the call, Andrew. Here's a philosophical question, Cole, and I do mean this facetiously, okay? Mm-hmm. If both teams pray for a victory, how does God choose who wins?
If both teams pray,
because you've got believers all over sports, right? In every single locker room, every single coaching staff, you all hear them say it all the time.
Number one, I don't think, as a person of faith, I don't think you should ever pray for a victory in a football game. That's my personal opinion. I think it's okay to pray for health, to stay healthy. I don't think it's right to go into a football game and ask for prayer to win the game. I'm not saying teams do or don't. I'm sure teams out there do and coaches do. Ultimately, I believe when I pray to God, the God that I believe in, I don't believe the God that I believe in has a care in the world about the outcome of a football game. That is what you call secular, right? Compared to what I believe in is eternal values, eternal life. To answer your question, I think it's silly to begin with to ever pray for an outcome of a game. As much as you love sports, I think that's silly to begin with.
Well, I mean, I'm just going off of what Dabo said. We're putting it in God's hands to decide what happens with the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And again, if it's not God's concern, what is Dabo talking about here? I couldn't see. This is a Zoom call, but we're listening to the audio. I do remember what Dabo's face looked like in the post-game press conference Saturday. He had that exhausted 1,000-yard stare on his face. I don't know if he had a similar 1,000-yard stare in this Zoom call, but that to me sounds like Dabo doesn't have any answers for what's going on.
No, I don't disagree with you there. I want to be very clear. I don't have an issue relying on faith. However, I do agree with you that Dabo Swinney for 4.5 minutes has not given us an area where this team can be better or what's gone wrong or why quarterback play hadn't been up to par. I haven't heard any of that.
I think in the first 4 minutes of this audio, Dabo's using his faith as a crutch.
I just think he doesn't have an answer. I mean, to your point, I don't know. And I'm not saying Dabo's not a good coach. I don't know that this season's savable. I'm not saying they're going to go lose 8 other games, but sometimes you misevaluate and you misjudge. And I think the staff has misevaluated a lot. I think Dabo's misjudged a lot, not just players, but also staff. I think there's issues that aren't fixable this season, right? I think there's a lot of these issues that are going to have to come in the offseason. I just don't know. Can Cade play better? Yeah, he can play better. Can the wide receivers play better? Sure. Again, I don't have an issue relying on your faith. I do every day. I just ultimately, if you and I, Diesel, are going to go figure out how to, climb a mountain this weekend, we've got to have an action plan in place on how to climb the mountain. Is it okay for me to use my faith in every single thing that I do? I think so. But we've got to have an action plan of how we're going to do it. That's what fans want to hear. Is an action plan of how things are going to get better. Does that make sense?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's see if he gives an action plan.
Do your best anyway. But again, got a team that's hurting, but I can't even begin to express how proud I am of them for how they responded today. Probably one of the best team meetings I've ever been a part of. Tough times bring out, good and bad in people, and just really proud of these young men for how they responded today and their enthusiasm to get back to work tonight and to focus on what we can do and to learn from what we've already been through and apply it as we move forward. So again, a lot of disappointment and things like that, but we'll build and. For me personally, just hurt for everyone and wish I could, everything would go exactly the way we want, but that's rarely the case. But I absolutely believe that, God will use this to make us all better. And so, again, injury wise, we're in a good spot. And
so he did say he started to go down a path that we all wanted him to go down from minute number 1 of this. He's wasted how much of our time now? About 6 minutes? 5.5 minutes talking about nothing. Yeah. And he said, I'm excited to get back to work tonight and focus on the things that we can improve on. Well, what are those things, Dabo?
Yeah.
What are those things?
And again,
are you saying we're getting the tackling dummies back out? Is it we're going to get back into that machine that has all the arms that players got to run through it to not fumble the ball? What are you doing, Dabo?
Yeah, and I think the biggest problem is these opening statements have always with Dabo just kind of carried on. And I'm sure we can't get a lot more of the audio because we got to run to a break, but I'm sure at some point during yesterday's presser there were some good questions asked and maybe some good answers. But these opening statements, just like it is every week, we understand all that. Guess what, Dabo? My whole thing is for 5.5 minutes, I know all that. You've told me that before. it feels like an Odyssey meeting that we have with our boss. We've heard this before.
We've heard all of
we
those
don't
talking
need to
points
call
before.
a meeting to say the same things over and over. Let's get to the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, that opening statement is the definition of could have been an email.
Yeah, that's right. That's what yeah. Welcome to our world. Could have been an email. In case you missed it earlier in the show, Jack Veltri will have it for you next. Every single Tuesday at this very time, we talk to Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central, who we appreciate his time. We appreciate him jumping in rather, and helping enlighten you Gamecock fans out there. Make sure you give him a follow, read his work, share his work, and help him get his stuff out there. He does a fantastic job at Gamecock Central, and we appreciate your time. Jack, how are you, man?
Good. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic on this Tuesday. South Carolina's biggest news right now, obviously coming off of a couple of losses, sitting at 500 on the season, Jack. And, you know, it felt like a lot hinged on that game with Missouri on Saturday. But in your mind, where would you say the focus of this fan base now lies in terms of what I just said, that the biggest problems, the biggest issues? Where do you think fans are going first? Where do you think the attacks start right now?
Yeah, they're definitely frustrated. I think a lot of people are on that Mike Shula needs to be fired bandwagon and all that. And I respectfully disagree. I think, you know, first off, I mean, I feel like I have this conversation with fans all the time, but it's like, you know, what is firing him going to do? What is your immediate plan after that? It's like, who are you going to promote? Oh, well, you can promote Sean Elliott. That seems to be a popular guess from the fans. So look, I think the play calling is definitely questionable, to say the least. I think the fans, you know, look at the numbers and you see that South Carolina's not doing too hot in terms of offense so far this year. But I did see some things on Saturday that give me a little bit of hope that they are improving. Again, Lenore Sellers did throw for 300 yards in that game, and the rushing attack was not there at all. There were some sacks. I mean, it wasn't all great, but again, a step in the right direction in terms of the passing. So the fans are frustrated. I think it definitely does start with Shula and the play calling.
Well, Jack, I will remind all of the Tolos that Sean Elliott's offenses weren't exactly prolific at Georgia State. I know the athletes were not the same, but I don't know if that's the route you want to go. And also, I lived under one season of Ted Roof as my team's defensive coordinator, where it looked awful at the beginning of the season, and it got better towards the end. So maybe give it a little time, South Carolina Gamecock fans. Let it cook. Let it bake just a little bit longer. You look back at that game on Saturday there, Jack, and chunk plays and penalties really doomed South Carolina in that one. 14 penalties for 98 yards, 5 pre-snap penalties, a defensive PI, a couple of face masks. You know, you hear ways that coaches will try to stop fumbles. They'll like duct tape a football to a player's hands for a week and say, this is what I want you to do with football. How is Shane Beamer and staff going to address those kind of issues, the super high penalty numbers?
Well, I think the one way they're doing it is just by, you know, they've tried to do it in practice and during film sessions and stuff, of watching back on the tape and explaining why the penalty happened, why it's not okay to have that penalty, and trying to correct it in that way. But Shane was talking about it today, like, you know, that stuff is just not working. Like, it's not, for whatever reason, it's not, the message is not getting to the players the right way. So they're looking for ways to tweak that. And they've done some things in practice without getting the specifics from Shane, because he didn't really mention it specifically, but he just said there were some things in practice that they've tweaked and adjusted on how they handle it and when it happens in practice. And they'll see if it's any better on Saturday.
Jack, how on earth do you explain in a Division I football game with SEC players having -9 rushing yards?
You don't. It just happened, and it's quite frankly unacceptable. I think the one way you can explain it, Cole, is that the blocking up front at times maybe just didn't give you enough holes to run through. Maybe we can also just accept the fact that maybe this running back room is just not all it's cracked up to be.
Talking to Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central at Jack T. Veltri is where you can go find him and give him a follow. Jack, why isn't Lenore Sellers comfortable with the intermediate pass game? You know, we saw him go downfield a lot, or attempt downfield a lot, but he's not really kind of hitting those check downs or those shorter routes. What's going on there?
Yeah, I think the passing attack was a lot better this past weekend, but still, like you said, Diesel, there's definitely improvements to be made. I mean, some throws Lenore just did not hit on. There were a few balls that nearly got picked off by Missouri in that game. So, Yes, he did throw for 300 yards and 2 touchdowns and all that good stuff. But again, I think some of the decision-making needs to be a little bit better. I'm not sure exactly what the reason is for the intermediate passing and why it's not better. I think, I don't really know what you could chalk it up to other than that, the fact of, you're still trying to get comfortable in this Mike Shula offense. But I wish I had a better answer for you, quite honestly. But, at the very least, the downfield passing game does seem a lot better so far this season, which is a good sign for Lenore's, as South Carolina is trying to help him in the pocket a little bit more.
Jack, let's go back to the run game for a second. You brought up the stable of running backs, or the lack thereof. Look, Mike Shula's offense play calling has been great. No. Has the offensive line play been great? No. Has the running back play been great? No. I mean, at some point, and you and Diesel kind of mentioned this a minute ago, like maybe it takes some time to figure out. The problem is you're in the SEC. You don't have time. You've got to microwave this thing and get that pot pie out in like 2 minutes, not 35 minutes in the oven, like grandma wants it to be. You've got to figure out a way to get this train rolling quickly. What immediate actions do you feel like you've heard Shane Beamer's taken to get this ship back on track?
I think the trying to figure out, what is working and what's not working. Obviously, they focused a lot more on tackling today, which hard to believe that they're just now seemingly doing a little bit more tackle. Again, Shane's talked about that they do tackling every single day, but I think it was pretty alarming that you hear players talking about they're emphasizing tackling more this week when, quite frankly, that should have been the case all along. Just my opinion. I think just figuring that stuff out of what's working, what's not working, how do we adjust it, whether it's personnel, whether it's literally anything that has to do with the football program. If there needs to be adjustments, they're going to try and make them.
Jack, Shane Beamer is 1-4 against Eli Drinkwitz. Is it out coaching or is it out talenting?
Good question. I think it's personally out coaching. I do. I think South Carolina has, you can argue South Carolina has more talent than Missouri. They should. I don't see why they wouldn't. But I do think it is Eli outsmarting him and just being better. You look at the game on Saturday, so many missed tackles, 16 missed tackles, 14 penalties, 5 sacks. I mean, that is just not good football right there. When you have that many mistakes in the game, it simply comes down to the fact that you're just not doing enough to win on the field. So I don't think it has much to do with talent, but rather what is going on with South Carolina just in general from not being disciplined on the field.
We're talking to Jack Veltri of Gamecock Central. Give him a follow on Twitter, on X at Jack T. Veltri. Jack, a little bit of a format breaker here. Your reaction to the news about John Mateer and the hand injury that could sideline him for some time.
You know what's going to happen, Cole. I'm going to tell you how it's going to go right now. He's going to miss a few weeks here, but then I've seen some rumors from, I think Pete Nagels put out that he could be ready for the Texas game. But let's say he's not. I will bet my money that he's ready for that South Carolina. That is just the way it goes in South Carolina Gamecock land. I mean, that's that's some big news. I didn't realize that he had suffered this injury and whatnot, keeping up with South Carolina and stuff. Haven't had a ton of time to watch, but it's not good, especially for the Heisman race and whatnot. But you hope Mateer gets better soon, but hopefully not too soon to where he's lighting up the field against South Carolina in a few weeks.
Jack, we were sold a bill of goods going into the season that Nick Harbor had dedicated himself to being a wide receiver. He wasn't running track anymore. He was football. And what does he produce? 10 receptions for 210 yards. Now, part of that, of course, is on the Norris Sellers throwing an accurate ball. Part of it is on the offensive line giving a play time to develop. But through 4 weeks of the season now, he's sitting at 122nd in college football when it comes to receiving yards. What's he doing that's not working? And then also, what is he doing off ball maybe that pro scouts would actually see and say, well, that's pretty good off ball work?
Yeah, I think just the thing that Lenore's probably needs to work on more than anything is I don't know if I call it situational awareness, but kind of reading the field a little bit more of like, you look back at the first and goal play call, for as questionable as that call was, where they did try to throw a pass on a play action, the split banana I formation. I think the play would work if a few things went right. Number one, Rasul Faison's got to block better. And it's plain and simple. I don't care what the excuse is. He has got to block better on that play because diving right at a guy's leg, I get what he was doing, but it was a piss poor attempt, quite honestly. And then you had Sellers roll back and, honestly, he had a guy open over the middle of the field, but he could just not, for whatever reason, he just did not see Jordan Dingle open at the end zone. And that's a problem right there. So you got to have your eyes looking everywhere and just, trying to make these throws. And look, some of what he did in the passing game was great, but there were some sacks he took, like the one I just mentioned on 1st and goal, where it's just like, what are you doing? I mean, you got to be able to step up in the pocket and make some throws because he just looked a little flustered at times, in my opinion, but still overall good game. But when you're looking at it from a scout standpoint, it's like, yeah, there's still a little bit of work left to do.
Gamecock fans, if you have a question for Jack, you can leave it on the stream or on the Hub City Spartanburgers text line, 844-326-3663. I've seen a lot of conversation, Jack, in the last day or two about leadership and vocal leadership on this football team, or lack thereof. Is that where we are in the point in the season where every single thing is going to be talked about and criticized, or do you feel like there might be something there?
I think there is a little bit something there. I think this team does. Here's the thing. They have leaders, I think, but we just don't know for sure who they are. That's the main thing here. Like, there was a question brought up today, I think by John Will from the Big Spur, asking a good question that, fans and people on the outside knew who the leaders were last year. It was Dabo Williams. It was Demetrius Knight. Yeah. Any veteran guy in that defense or offense, you knew who the leaders were right away. I just don't think we can say the same with conviction today that for this team right now, truly, like you asked me, like I could tell you maybe like a guy or two, but I couldn't tell you definitively, like for sure, who the leaders are. We expect it to be Lenore Sellers, but he's more of that quiet, stoic type of guy. And I think they have a lot of guys that lead by example as opposed to being super, super vocal. So again, it's a little trickier to navigate who those leaders are currently for this team right now. But I think that's mainly just because of all they lost after last year.
Jack, I know that, I don't remember if we talked about it, but I know others have, and Dylan Stewart getting a little frustrated, obviously, that he's being double teamed all the time and not able to put up the numbers that he would like to be. And hey, getting double teamed is a sign of respect. It means that they know you're a threat. How is this coaching staff keeping him keeping his head in the game, knowing that his numbers aren't going to be what he'd like them to be, but that NFL scouts notice those sort of things, what he's doing?
Yeah, I think the main thing with Dylan is that you just got to keep him, level-headed, right? I think they got to, they've continued to talk about the fact that, for him, it's just making sure, he's not beating himself up and getting super frustrated over little things, right? I mean, he's got to be the bigger man, essentially, is I think what the coaching staff is trying to get at. And, I don't know how that's been so far, quite honestly. I think from what we see on the field, it still feels like Dylan has some room to grow in that way, but it's going to happen every single week. It's nothing new that he's going to get double teamed and that teams are going to try to go away from him. It's on him to, not sit there and pout about it, but try to make sure that he's still effective in the game.
Talking high school football to close out the show here today, Wire to Wire with Diesel and Cole Bryson, joined right now by Judd Wyndham, Christchurch. Judd, welcome to the show. Appreciate you being here, and congratulations on a big week. At what point in the game last Friday did you feel like this one's going to be a special one?
I would say on the first drive, we have 3rd and 5, and we're lined up, and we just needed to play, get the game off to a good start. And I roll out, and Hayes Lyman made a great catch on a play over another guy. And at that point, it kind of knew something was special was going to happen because we had like on our heels, and then we were able to flip it really quickly on like a 3rd and long and get going down the field, and then eventually score on that first drive, and just everything went well from there.
Judd, I had the same shirt that you have on. I wear it quite often, so we're a twin on that. We're joined right now by Judd Wyndham, the Week 4 High School Player of the Week. Friday night, 9 of 12, 188 yards, 2 touchdowns, 6 rushes, 57 yards, add in a reception for 51 yards and a touchdown, and the big win for Christchurch over Chapman. Christchurch now 3-1 on the season. 48-20 was the score on Friday night. Judd, talk about the reception for 51 yards and a touchdown. Normal play, trick play? A quarterback normally catching the football is out of the normal, right?
Yes, sir. It was a trick play we drawn up that week. It was one we our big option team, and so we faked like we ran the option. Jude Hall out there, handed him the ball, went outside, and then I had a wheel down the sideline. Best ball I threw all week for sure. Right on the money.
I love it. I love it.
Judd, tell us what it's like to have a coach that has the kind of trust in you to run a trick play like that gives you the option and the freedom to kind of spread your talents all over the field like that.
Yes, sir. I'm so thankful for the coaching staff we have. They really let me go out there and play free, and so I'm free to run the ball. I'm free to check plays. Like, it's really like they give me the freedom of someone way more advanced than I for sure am. And so play under like your own rules. And so we went out there, and I played little receiver this summer. And so they decided that maybe I'd be able to catch the ball. Luckily I could on that one.
I like it. Judd, you guys started the season off with a 17-0 loss to Hammond. However, since then, you've reeled off 3 straight over Anderson, Riverside, and Chapman. What was it against the Hammond team that you guys lost to that you feel like even in a loss you guys got better at?
I mean, Hammond's a great team. We've had problems for 2 years. They've won the state championship the past 10 years. It was really helpful, though, to get out there. I mean, for a lot of us, that was my first game playing with a lot of the guys that we have out there. And there was a lot of, even though it wasn't the best game all around, there's a lot of trust built up. Like, everyone understood that it was a mucky game. There was rain. Everyone understood that we were all going to like try as hard as we could and get like the effort that we needed to make the plays. And since then, everything's just clicked. Like the line, they've had the best 3 weeks, I think, ever since I've been at Christchurch, since anyone I knew Christchurch. They've been playing out of their minds so far. And then Michael Martin has had 3 games that are above any level I've ever seen. He's got, I think, 10 touchdowns, maybe more in the past 3 weeks. And so everything's just kind of been clicking. There's a lot of trust, like in all aspects of the game, from special teams, defense, and offense.
Talking to Judd Wyndham from Christchurch, our high school player of the week. Can I get you to do a little self-scouting? Who do you think maybe at the college ranks that your game most compares to? I would say, looking at your stat sheet, that there may be a little Diego Pavia in there in you, but who do you think that maybe you compare to?
I've gotten Diego Pavia, and then also Georgia Tech is one that I get told I would fit in really well with a lot. Kind of the way they run their quarterback, run some option, but also he can drop back and throw the ball. I've been told that's somewhere I'd fit in.
Judd, what year are you?
I'm a junior.
Junior. So you got a couple of years this year and one more year left. What are your plans? I mean, in a perfect world, what are your plans after high school?
I would love to go play football. It would be great. It's something it's been a part of my life. My dad's been a coach for years. My brother played for years. He almost went and played college football. He had offers. He really wanted to, and then had another opportunity. And then my dad, of course, would love it if we could. It's really just been a part of my life. I love watching football on Saturdays. I love the atmosphere around it. I'd love to get a chance to play.
Judd, kind of walk us through some of the plays that really popped for you on Friday night. I mean, did you kind of know going into it that the defense and the scouting that you did that you felt like these were going to work out, or is it something that, kind of plays itself out in the feel of a game?
This week we had a couple different films on Chapman. And so going into the game, we weren't really sure. They had a couple really good athletes. I know number 3 on their team and number 11, and we weren't really sure where those two were going to play. They were playing some at outside linebacker and some at corner. And so once we got into the game, we made the adjustments and thought where we had like an advantage between our players, and ended up a lot of that being the slot receivers. And so we went in, and you saw Hayes Lyman had a 67-yard reception down the side of the field. Hampton Shields had another 45-yard reception, both great plays by the two of them. And they really had just a night going against their outside linebackers. And so we really felt like we could take advantage of that.
Judd, congratulations on being our player of the week. And we hope you guys have a great performance against Hampton County Friday. Congratulations, and we hope to talk to you again soon.
Thank you guys so much.
Thanks,
Absolutely. Judd Wyndham, the Fan Upstate Player of the Week for Week 4. Christchurch has Hampton County, St. Joe's, Powdersville, Carolina, Southside Christian, and Palmetto all left this season. And, man, Diesel, might not be the last time we talk to that guy.
No, off to a heck of a start. Offensively, prolific. Defense has played really, really good in a couple of games. This seems like a team that is poised
Good team
to have a big time season.
No doubt. Well coached by Quinn Hatfield. He does a fantastic job. Appreciate him getting us in contact and setting that up. And again, congratulations to the Week 4 Player of the Week, Judd Wyndham. A big show on a wonderful but maybe wacky Wednesday, who knows, on Wire to Wire. We'll see you tomorrow.